Hey everybody, how's it going? Thank you so much for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. We're here with another exciting day of games for day two of the 3 day Day of Tales streamathon that we're doing. Day one was absolutely amazing. We had some great games, fantastic cast, our audience, people in the chat, y'all were great, really showed up for it. We raised $320 yesterday for a grand total so far $420, which you should be able to see just above me right now, which is amazing. I am honestly completely blown away by that. Thank you so much to everyone. We're going to have a great game of Monster of the Week coming on in just a minute. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit about some of our exciting giveaways and this incredible cause that we're all here for. Any donation, any amount from $1 to $100 gets you entered into all of the giveaway lotteries that we're running that are going to be announced at the end of the night tomorrow night. We've got two gorgeous dice boxes from the Shady Sale. We've got a trilogy of books from Thread of Souls based on their personal home campaign. We've got a dice commission from Firefox Dice. Mixed that one up, sorry. From Firefox Dice. They've got incredible dice. Definitely check it out. Absolutely worth picking up. We've got a creative commission from Jack Kellum, who some of you might know as Jack Gogsbane over on Twitter, or Jack of Gods and Game Masters. An incredibly creative and inventive mind who is looking forward to sitting down and working with you to really create some awesome stuff. We've got an art commission from Lost Haven Art, who was with us yesterday running Ryutama, which was so wholesome and so much fun. And when we hit 500, we're going to have a really exciting extra announcement to make. We also, for the top 4 donators between now and the end of August, are going to be having a private game with Jack Kellum, Jack Gogsbane on Twitter, where it's going to be a D&D 5th edition level 20 game where you are encouraged to bring your most overpowered builds and characters, and he will most definitely be putting them to the test. And for anyone who donates $50 or more, we brought it down just a little bit based on what we've been seeing lately, $50 or more is going to get the opportunity to be in a multi-episode private game with Marshall from Iron Echo Games, which is either going to be a Roots game, Root, I don't think there's an S, Root, or Pokemon Tales. Both fantastic games. Marshall's amazing. Definitely want to get into that. Every single dollar that you donate, again, whether it be 1 or 100, is going to be going in its totality to the National Network of Abortion Funds. It's a really important cause right now, and all of that goes towards medical bills, travel expenses, logistics, hotels, and everything else that they can do to help people who desperately need the opportunity to keep the bodily autonomy that is being under attack right now. So, that's I can't think of a better reason for us all to be here, and that's what that's going to be going towards. It was a long day yesterday. I'm a little out of it today, but we'll get into it as the day goes on. For now, I'm going to toss things over to our amazing group for Monster of the Week. I hope everyone enjoys, and I'll see you in a bit.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Hi. Welcome to Days of Tales, Monster of the Week. My name is Will. I'm going to be the storyteller, the keeper, as we call it in Monster of the Week for this particular adventure, which is entitled "Fuck the Magic School." So hopefully we're going to have a lot of fun today. Like I said, my name is Will. I'm one of the GMs and the organizers over at Live from the Apocalypse. We are a multi-platform TTRPG studio who raises money for progressive causes and good organizations. Pretty much everything we do benefits a nonprofit or an aid organization. We just finished up a big push raising money for Planned Parenthood. We raised $2,000 for Planned Parenthood, and we are currently closing out our fundraising commitment to the Surfrider Foundation, which is an ocean conservation group. We are also very close to hitting the $2,000 mark for them as well. And once those have been met, we'll figure something else out. But if you like this game, if you want to check out more of what we do and support some of those causes that we platform, you can find us at twitch.tv/live from the apocalypse or Twitter at live from the APOC, APOC. We have a podcast out called Academy H. It's a Masks actual play podcast. It's very good. Love it if you check it out. And yeah, I think that is it for me. Going in alphabetical order to keep things simple. Tal, you are up next.
Hello. My name's Tal Woodblaze. I'm a writer and designer of role-playing games, D&D, a few other bits and pieces. You can mainly find me on Twitter at The Gamer's Rest, and I have a monthly Ko-fi subscription as well, which is items, adventures, and anything you could kind of want from there. And tonight I'll be playing the mysterious Bob.
Enough said.
Yeah.
Knox?
Hi, I'm Knox. You can mainly find me over on Twitter too at NoxJournal_7. I also do a weekly limited series right now on Girls Run These Worlds on their Twitch for Harsh Realms, which is a 1990s and Stranger Things inspired campaign set in Washington State, run by my friend Riley Grick on Twitter and Twitch. That's always their thing. And yeah, that's mainly where you can find me. And I'm going to be playing Eliza.
And Sarah, without an H.
Hey, I am Sarah. I am Sarah of Swords on Twitter, and I am the programming director for Play Cancer Away. We do fundraisers for various cancer-related charities, and you can find us on Twitter at Play Cancer Away and Twitch as well. And we are gearing up for our big October fundraiser for Stand Up to Cancer right now, and look out for the player recruitment form that's coming out in a couple of weeks. So if you want to play with us, you can follow the Twitter and check that out. And I will be playing Jane.
And I am Sarah with an H. I am Sarah. You can find me at Serotonin, the spelling of which is on the overlay, on Twitter. And I am mainly on Stormborn's Curse, which occurs every Friday, most every Friday at 8:30 or 8 Eastern. And yeah, that's where you can find me. And I will be playing Helen.
And that's our cast of characters. If you are not familiar with Monster of the Week, it is a powered by the Apocalypse system that replicates media properties that follow that same Monster of the Week format. Very episodic storytelling, quick action, very narratively driven. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. With all that being said, go ahead and set our scene for this game. In the Colorado Rockies, amongst all of the many towering peaks and insurmountable summits, there is one much smaller mountain. It would be generous to even call it a mountain, even though that is its technical classification, according to the USGS. And in the shadow of that much smaller, much squatter mountain, there's a very, very small town known as Ursa. At one point in the 1920s, Ursa was a logging town for a very brief period of time. The stories say that there were incidents with a creature of some kind, a primordial bear-like creature that would appear out of the woods almost as if from nowhere and destroy equipment, scare people, damage the logging company's assets, and then disappear as if it had never even been there. Eventually, US ecologists got wind of this, became very interested, and started making trips out to Ursa to investigate, to see if this was some sort of throwback creature that needed to be protected, that needed its habitat protected. And eventually their estimation was that that was the case. And so logging operations in Ursa were essentially put to a complete halt. They were not permitted to do any more logging, and most of the company pulled out. But the people had already started to build up the town, the families of the loggers and the friends of the loggers, and a few people who had been attracted by the opportunity for industry had already settled. And they decided that this was their home now, and they were not going to leave it, even if the logging company was. So the town of Ursa remained, and it persevered, despite the fact that it really offers no industry to support itself any longer. Most of the townsfolk work in the nearby resort town of Comanche, where most of the money in the local region is located. There are a few small opportunities to make money here or there. The kettle drum, the small mountain that Ursa sits in the shadow of, does have somewhat of a reputation as being a fun and engaging beginner's climb. So people who are just getting into the hobby or longtime enthusiasts who are just looking for a more relaxing opportunity occasionally make the trip out to Ursa. And they stay in the town, they resupply in the town. Some people even come there to vacation, but that's far less common. And in this way, the townspeople of Ursa basically make their living, at least on the surface. The truth is that there are far stranger things happening in Ursa, dark things. And the mountain of the kettle drum holds far more secrets than anyone in Ursa suspects. Or maybe it'd be more accurate to say, almost anyone. On this particular day in Ursa, we are on the outskirts of the town, very close to the tree line, having been settled in a valley, essentially, at the foot of this mountain. Ursa is a very small small pocket of humanity in the wilderness. So it is surrounded essentially on all sides by trees, towering trees. And on the edge of the town, there is a shack that, by the looks of it, possibly even part of the original logging operation that stopped more than 80 years ago. It barely stands. It is dry rotted through. It looks like a small breeze could push it over at a moment's notice. But there is somebody who lives here. And as we pull in closer, as we get closer to this shack, we see this individual step outside. Tal, would you care to introduce us to Bob?
So stepping outside, there is a lanky, tanned man. Difficult to kind of estimate his age. He could be 30, he could be early 50s. Stubbled face, very kind of drawn. Looks like he probably hasn't eaten a proper meal for a couple of days. Very kind of skinny and long. His hair's all over the place, really matted, and it doesn't look like he's been looking after himself at all. His clothes are quite ragged as well, so he's got a t-shirt, it's got a few holes in it. His jeans are clearly seen better days, and he's wearing trainers which they need a good wash. They smell terribly, with a couple of holes in the bottom of them as well. And as he steps out, he just kind of bends over and he's just taking a deep breath, just steadying himself as he starts his day.
And that makes sense because you step outside because you have had this terrible headache all morning. It's what woke you up. And it has just been this pressure that has been building in your head since you went to bed last night. It has steadily grown worse and it is becoming almost impossible to deal with. You step outside to get a little fresh air to see if maybe that would get you a little release. And almost like a balloon popping, all of that pressure gives way as you feel this wave of energy wash over you. You're not exactly sure where it originated from, but you feel it almost like a wave from the ocean as it covers you and then passes by you and continues on. It's not visible, but you absolutely feel it. And right on the tail end of that, you hear an incredibly loud roar. It's clearly animalistic in nature. It's not a human being, but again, it's hard to pinpoint where it's coming from other than the woods. If you had to guess, you would guess maybe the mountain itself. And right on the heels of that roar, a very old, rusted out husk of some kind of truck, a make and model that you haven't seen in a very, very long time, if you ever have. Maybe from the 50s, 40s at the earliest, or at the latest. This rusted hunk of a pickup truck comes flying out of the tree line above you and crashes into the ground 30 feet away from your shack. It sends pieces flying in the air. It shatters pretty much immediately. It's rusted through and barely held together, but it is scattered into a million pieces as it crashes there. And the chassis, what's left of it, digs a furrow in the ground. And in the aftermath of that, it's just quiet. What do you do?
So Bob's still kind of recovering from the wave and kind of looks up and deep sigh, looks at the truck and goes, well, shucks, didn't expect to see that today. And just slowly approaches it very cautiously and carefully, just see if there's anybody in it, just in case, but very cautious as to where it's come from.
You examine it and you don't find anybody in it. If you had to guess, I mean, the woods are full of weird things like this, things that were left behind by the logging operation or people who disappeared and were just, nobody knew to look for them or how to find them or anything like that. This wouldn't be the first time you've come across something like this, but it's definitely the first time something has come flying out of the trees and crashed into the ground near you. But as you examine it, you don't see any obvious explanations for what this is or where it came from or what happened. However, you do know someone who might.
And he kind of dusts himself off a little bit, goes, I hate going into town. Well, Miss Jean's not going to like this. And he slowly starts to wind his way into town.
Good. You start making your way into town. And in the town itself, on the main street drag of Ursa, such as it is, this is where a lot of the charming small town shops that do occasionally attract people to the town of Ursa are located. There are a few things. There's a souvenir shop, an old secondhand bookstore, nothing truly remarkable, but there is amongst them a coffee shop. Sarah, I don't know if you've given much thought to the name of this coffee shop or what it looks like, but if you'd like to describe it, feel free.
I have given absolutely zero thought to what its name is. But as far as what it looks like, it's a coffee shop / cafe. So they serve food. There's kind of fairy lights strung around the windows, and it's not quite dim in there, but there's not, the overhead fluorescent lights. It's more of a warm lighting situation, a lot of dark wood. It was originally a bar during the logging era. So it has a lot of the original wood involved. And it smells overwhelmingly like delicious baked goods.
Love that. Given that it has been in that location since the logging days, when all of these stories were coming out about the creature living in the woods, I imagine that maybe one of the only things that's left remaining is the sign over the door that has been adapted. However, there might still be remaining sort of a crude carving that resembles a bear. And I'm thinking maybe, if you're okay with it, that the coffee shop has been named the Bear Claw Cafe. Or possibly just that. The Bear Claw for short.
The Bear Claw. Yeah, that's great.
So there's this coffee shop, and rushing down the sidewalk of Main Street to get to this coffee shop is someone who is very clearly running a little bit behind schedule. Sarah, would you like to describe Eliza?
Me or Sarah? Wait, you said Sarah.
Oh, I said Eliza. I'm sorry, Helen.
Okay.
Sarah, would you like to describe
Okay.
Helen? I'm so sorry.
Helen is a young Asian woman, like mid-20s. She is a bit frazzled. You can't quite tell if she's running late on purpose by accident or just purely by accident. And she's like shoving like this blouse into her like pants, being like, fuck. Like, because she knows that if she screws up this interview too much and doesn't get the job, she's going to have to explain that to her parents. And she's just like, I just need to do this and like be on a really good footing. And she's just rushing towards the cafe.
Okay. Yeah, I imagine the door tinkles as you enter it. There's like a little bell set over it. Inside, as we previously established, it's a lot of dark wood. It has a very old world feel to it, I imagine, but the smell that permeates it is absolutely delicious. It smells incredible in here. It always has, as long as you've been coming here, probably since you were a child, because very little changes. At this time of day, it is fairly empty. The morning rush has come and gone. It's not really a lunch spot, so people don't really stop in for that. So it is very quiet. There is, in fact, really only one person in there when you arrive, and that is the employee behind the counter. And at that point, Knox, would you like to describe Eliza?
Yeah, Eliza is kind of, you can't tell how tall she is because she always walks with like her face towards the ground. So she's probably like 5'9", 5'10", and she her hair is like always a mess. Like even if she takes a brush to it, it's just not gonna look good. Like no, I'm not speaking from experience. And she as she like walks around the like to like where the baked goods are to like the coffee machine, you can tell she like walks with a limp to one side, and she's just about like 20, 21 years old, just very young, and also just looking down at the ground all the time.
Hi, is Jane in today?
Let me go see if I can get her. And then she like walks over to where Jane would be and like, Miss Jane, somebody's here for you.
Yeah, I imagine you might have to call upstairs. Like maybe there's an intercom system or something like that. But my impression, correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, was that Jane spends a lot of time up above the coffee shop, and yeah, so you'd
She's
probably
just
have to.
full on yelling up the stairs.
Yes.
Like quietly yelling. She doesn't raise her voice that much, but like, Miss Jane.
And you are summoned.
Jane, like you see, Jane is she's currently, there's a lot of books around her and she's doing a lot of studying, and she looks up at Eliza at the sound of Eliza's voice and finishes her thought on her notepad and walks down.
What does Jane look like?
She's late 30s, early 40s. She's got the build of a climber. So she's, you see that she's kind of got muscles beneath her clothing, and because she's been either working out or climbing for a long time. She's been in earth.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
We'll never know what she's been in.
I know.
Oh no.
That's a great way for the camera to freeze though. Just
No.
Oh wait, you're back.
You're back.
Okay,
It's
I'm back.
fine.
I'm back. She has a brown pixie cut, and peeking out of her hoodie arm on her left arm is a tattoo of trees. So
Cool.
she's about 5'6", 5'7". Yeah.
Is there anything aside from all of the books? Anything else notable about her apartment? Anything that might strike her?
There's an entire wall that's just a rack of weapons, from swords to shotguns to a dagger display. It's all mundane, but there's just a shattering amount of weaponry for one woman.
Very cool. And I'm assuming you leave those. You probably don't need them to just go
Yeah,
downstairs.
I
and
don't
do.
take them to interview somebody
Yeah.
for a barista position. Yeah.
just sat there interviewing people, sharpening a sword.
Walks down with a shotgun. How you do?
Mhm. You know how to use one of these? You're hired.
We'll teach you about the coffee later.
So yeah, you come down the stairs and into the backside of the coffee shop. I imagine your apartment kind of leads down into sort of
Yeah.
the bakery area. And you step out into the shop itself, and you see Helen standing there, whom you probably recognize from being from growing up in the town. It's a very small place, but it's been a while since you've seen her.
Mhm. Hi, are you Helen?
Yeah. Hi. It's nice to put a face to the name and everything.
Yeah. Do you want to sit over here and we can talk? And I
Sure.
gestured to one of the empty tables.
Yeah, Helen will just follow you. She looks like a little nervous, and she's like there's a light sheen of sweat on her from her rushing and running over.
I gestured for Helen to sit down and then take a seat across from her. So you're applying for the barista job, yeah?
Yeah, I worked at my campus coffee shop for a little bit, so I figured that this would be a good continuation of that, of my skills.
Yeah, sounds good. And what brought you back to Ursa? I know you went away for college and grad school.
Yeah, well, I graduated, and I figured it would be a good time to come back home and sort of find my footing as I, enter the job space. So
There is not a dedicated like insight check for monster of the week, but you may get the impression that there's some flowery language going on with that.
Yeah. And Jane just asked a few more questions, like standard job interview
absolutely.
questions for Helen. Ends with, is there anything you want to tell me about yourself in addition to what we just talked about?
Not really. I just it would be really fun. It seems working here, and it smells great, so that's a perk as well.
We did joke that this session was actually going to be a 4-hour job interview. We were just gonna role play through that. As you finish giving that answer, Jane, however you feel about that answer, as you're kind of making your mind up about it, very noisily you hear the front door of the cafe fly open. The bell gets knocked by the door up into the door jamb and makes a terrible noise, and then is immediately muted again, and then falls back into place. So it's just kind of swinging back and forth and ringing a little bit over and over again. Bob, are you saying anything as you burst into the coffee shop?
Miss Jane, and you can see his hair's kind of swirling around, like there's a windle around him. Miss Jane, it's happening again. And he's kind of trying to.
Shit. I look at Helen and sort of do the awkward, I know my attention was on you, but now I have this other thing that I have to deal with, kind of hand motion. And sort of you see her brain sort of short out as she decides what she's going to focus on. And then she asks Helen, great, job's yours if you want it. Next shift available is tomorrow. And
Yeah.
holds up a finger for Bob, like, hold on.
I'll be here. Yeah. Do you want me to come in earlier than?
Yeah, there's some paperwork you have to fill out. So
Okay.
just like 9:30.
Sure.
All
Yeah.
I did have a
Just
moment like your shift's tomorrow, and I was like, what
Yeah.
Yeah.
like if just wondering if a time was going to be established.
Roll to determine your independence on your tax form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then I look at Bob and put my finger down, like unpause Bob, and completely focused on Bob, because it's happening again is a very big oh shit moment.
Definitely. Absolutely. Yes. There's a sign in the window if you want. You can flip it around that says, we're open. You can switch it to say, sorry, we're closed. If you feel like
I
you
do
need
that.
to. Cool. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you sort of usher Helen out the door, and then you flip that sign. And then you're going to try to deal with Bob, and obviously Eliza knows all about this, so that's not a concern or an issue at all. We will get back to that in just a second, but Helen, as you step outside, you see right out front of the Bear Claw a police patrol car pull up. The lights are going, but there are no sirens, and out of the driver's side, there steps a man in a deputy's uniform. That sort of khaki color. He's got the sort of wide brimmed hat on a little bit, aviators that he takes off and puts in his pocket. You would also probably know him just because you've been in the town for such a long time. He is not much older than you, so it's entirely possible you maybe even went to high school together. So you would know Clay as he walks up to you. And he has a way about him that lets you know something's wrong. That's what his body language is telling you.
Hey, what's up?
Good morning, Sarah. Yeah, I was told I might be able to find you here. I'm sorry to bother you like this, but why? I don't know if your mom might not have been able to get a hold of you. She said you were going for a job interview. But I just wanted to let you know that well, your father's missing.
Missing?
Yeah, I mean, he that he took a group up the Kettle Drum a few days ago, and they came back into town last night, all sorts of scared, telling all these wild stories. We're still trying to figure out exactly what happened up there, but your father wasn't with them. So we're I just wanted to let you know. I just came from your folks' house.
Is my mom's home now, right?
She's on her way home. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna meet her at home then. Is there any way you could drop me off at my place? Or
yeah, no, I'd be
Okay.
happy to do that.
Great.
Of course.
Cool. Thank you. And she'll just get into the front of the car and drive off with Clay.
Okay. I will say also, I'm going to make a little bit of a declaration here that I think as you were going to, as you were getting ready to help Bob, Jane, you kind of maybe offhandedly told Eliza to flip the sign. I'm going to say, Eliza, as you were doing that, you kind of overhear this conversation between Clay, the deputy, and Helen.
I hear all.
You do. You hear all. But you've got bigger things to deal with at the moment. So you flip the sign, the police car pulls off, and you turn back to see what exactly Jane is doing to help Bob.
What? First of all, is Bob a coffee guy?
No,
Is he?
no, he's just water. Nothing, nothing fancy at all. If
All
he's
right,
drinking
so
coffee, it's like you can stick a spoon in it kind of levels of coffee.
Jane gets him a glass of water and says, "Okay, what happened?"
Well, came out this morning. Bad headache. You know how I get those sometimes. And the darndest thing happened. This big roar from the trees, and then this old heap almost took my head off when it came flying out of the trees. Never seen nothing like that before.
I've seen a lot of weird things, but a truck flying out of the trees all on its own. Was anyone in it?
Nope. Looks like it'd been in there for some time. I'm assuming something picked it up and threw it.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Jane's kind of going through her mind of what could pick up a truck and throw it, that far of a distance. And
It is a depressingly long list.
yeah, it is. And I also have the move, the woman with the plan. So I have a beginning of mystery move.
Yes, absolutely.
where I
So
roll
this
plus
is
sharp.
this is definitely the beginning of the mystery. This is the first clue you have gotten. So feel free to go ahead and do that.
That is an 8. So I have 1 hold, which I can spend to be where I need to be prepared and ready.
Yes. So whenever you want to use that, you can. You have it banked for pretty much the entire session, whenever you want to use it. Yeah. I imagine by this point, Bob, you were starting to calm down a little bit, feel a little bit more in control. The water helps.
Yeah, you can see the water's kind of almost spinning around in the glass, and it just then starts to slow down as he starts to just control himself a little bit. It's almost like a mini cyclone just falls down. It's going to happen again, isn't it? Oh man, I don't. It's not good. It's not good. He's just kind of sat in the chair, just rubbing his temples, just trying to calm himself down.
Eliza, what are you doing with this? With both the conversation, the interaction that you're witnessing here, and also what you overheard from Helen and Clay.
Eliza kind of sits down and Bob, do you know whose truck that was?
Nope, that's been in there quite some time, so I don't think
it definitely
anyone we
didn't
knew.
look. It definitely didn't look drivable, even before it got broken when it hit the ground.
And she's just kind of sitting there, like, looking at her fingers as she like plays with them, waiting for Jane to tell them what's going to happen next.
The woman with the plan.
What was with the police car outside? I saw
The
Helen get into it.
her father apparently is missing. From he took a group of people up there, and everyone came back but him.
Huh.
Is that a bad thing that doesn't surprise us anymore? I feel like this is something that should be a bigger deal to all of us and isn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Oh man.
I'm a little, it's probably a bad thing how quickly you two got used to it. I mean, I've been here my whole life, but yeah. So I would like to go up to my library and investigate and see if I can find anything from that depressingly long list of things that could throw a truck out of the forest with missing person.
All right. Let's see how this goes then. So you have the lore library option for your haven. So you can roll to investigate a mystery, which is with sharp, and then you add 1 because you have a lore library. So you just start hitting the books. Do you bring Eliza and Bob with you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been in Eliza's haven before. There's the weapon wall. There's all the weird books up.
Yeah,
And
they're used to the weapon wall.
Every time Bob sees the weapon wall, he kind of shakes his head and just like,
Just looks like, did you get a new one?
Eliza, I think that also you would know from what we established that the huge carpet that is spread out over the center of the apartment hides the protection runes that you helped Jane inscribe into the floor. And it's up to you how you feel about it, because that was something that you adapted from the magic that you kind of knew to use to contain your own power when it got out of control. Do you appreciate the fact that you can't see it when you walk into the apartment, that it's covered up? Is it upsetting, or is it something else entirely?
It's not so much upsetting because it's like, oh, well, I was able to use this for something helpful at least once. At least I've got this going for me. But she probably doesn't want to be reminded every time that she's like this close to just exploding.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, what did you roll?
I rolled an 11.
11 is
Nice.
that is huge. Yeah. All right, cool. So with an 11, you can hold 2. So sort of the same with your woman with a plan move. You have those holds. You can spend them as you wish. If you want to ask 2 questions right now, you should feel free to do so. If not, you can hold on to 1 or both of those.
Let's see.
There's a list of questions you can ask. I can read them out to you if you'd like.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
What sort of creature is it? And I'll keep the remaining hold for later.
Very cool. You don't have a tremendous amount of information to go off of. Really, all you know is that this was something that roared and threw a very decrepit old car, which is not an easy feat. However, like we established, there's a long list of things that meet that criteria. Coupling that with the missing person, it narrows it down somewhat, but not as much as you would like. I will say that the first thing that comes to your mind as you are looking at this list of options, which would include like I imagine you're kind of taking notes on a piece of paper as you're going through the book. So you've written down like when to go ? And like crossed it out a bunch of times. Werewolf and crossed that one out too. Few other things like giant ? And but as you're looking down on it, the fact that it roared, it threw this car, it happened near or close to the mountain. This would not be the, even though, let's start over. Even though you didn't hear this particular roar, you have heard them before. When something particularly bad or powerful happens at the Wickworth Academy, you have heard a creature roaring from the forest. And it's always kind of been your belief that it is this primordial ghostly bear from the stories. Not having heard the roar yourself, you're not entirely certain that it's the same thing, but that's what your gut is telling you at this moment, that it's related to that. Now, whether this creature took Helen's dad, you're not sure. Whether it was just expressing its displeasure with something that was happening at the magic school, You're not sure about that either. But your gut is telling you it's related to that somehow. And your gut is also telling you it's probably not a coincidence that Helen's dad is
Yeah.
missing and this happened.
Yeah. I relay all that to like I Jane's internal monologue is external, so she's kind of narrating her ideas as she goes, and so it's like werewolf, giant, ghost bear just like comes out of her mouth because she doesn't have a name. Like it's not named anything. It's just like the legend is there. So you hear the two of you, you've seen this before on Jane where she just goes into research mode, but it's all like her internal monologue is external. So she's like, thinking out loud here, and settles on ghost bear and no primordial bear. We really should name this thing.
As you're kind of saying that, you kind of catch out the corner of your eye that one of Bob's arms just turns to like rock, and it just slowly transforms and just like into a massive kind of rocky fist, and he's just looking at it going, oh man, oh this is gonna, oh man. And he's desperately trying to kind of concentrate to turn it back, which he's not succeeding with.
Yeah, you're gonna be
Eliza's been
rocking.
writing notes the whole time. She's like used to this. She's like, I'm gonna need to follow along with whatever she's saying. I should really just I should just take notes at this point.
And let's go to your house, Bob, and take a look at the truck and see if we can see anything. And then we'll go to Helen's and talk to her and her mom about what her dad was doing and see if we can get any information from that.
You'll have to excuse the mess. I haven't had a chance to tidy up at home, but yeah, sure.
That's
we
fine.
can head out there.
He lives in a rundown shack and he's worried about the
He hasn't got any possessions either. Really, there's a
Jane
broken
also
plate.
takes one look at Bob, and as she's heading out the door, goes back to the kitchen of the cafe and like gets one of those pre-made sandwiches for him. And on second thought, she just kind of like dumps a couple of them into a bag, for snacks for later, but definitely she needs to feed Bob at this moment.
Yeah, definitely. Bob looks like he has not eaten in days.
Eliza grabs like a couple cups of water and is just like trying to carry them, like all because maybe it'll calm Bob down a bit and his hand won't be rocky anymore.
That's actually an interesting question because as we've established, Bob, one of your vulnerabilities is like when you're sort of in one of your elemental modes, the opposite hurts it. So now it might be like, oh no, water, get it away from me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like a visceral reaction when he sees especially as it might potentially be spilled upon him. He's like, would you be so kind as to put those down just for a minute? I'm really trying to concentrate to will his
immediately just drops them.
Oh, okay.
She was barely holding them anyway, so just immediately lets go. Like, okay, that's good. Let's go.
Yeah, slowly it starts to recede, and he regains control.
You start to head out to Bob's shack, and as you do that, we will cut to Helen's house, where you've just been dropped off by Clay. He's talked to you a little bit more as you've been driving. Have you been asking questions, do you think, or are you just letting him talk? Are you a little shell shocked?
I think that maybe at first she was just sort of only half listening. Like like her brain was only registering that that Clay was talking, not what he was saying. And then eventually her focus kind of like came back in. And she starts to like, if like Clay gets the idea based off her questions that she maybe didn't catch what he was saying at first. And so she's just like what happens, like what happened to the hikers, what are they saying where my dad is, like do they know, etc. Like that's kind of her train of thought.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, is mostly all gibberish, to be honest with you. They said something about seeing some other folks up there, but they I don't know, it's weird because they said they definitely weren't hikers, which, I mean, I asked them what they meant by that, obviously, and they said, they didn't have any gear with them, they weren't dressed for it. Said there were 3 of them, but that was about it. Said they were creepy, but I don't really know what exactly that means. And then they just started talking about a monster. So they said it was just something real big. They didn't get a good look at it, but it roared real loud and it chased them. I mean, if you believe them, which, I mean, obviously this is crazy. They said that it was just sort of barreling through the trees, knocking them over left and right. And, they ran. Obviously your dad told them to run, or your dad told them to run. And, according to their story, it came to a fork in the road, like where it branched, and they said your dad told him to run one way, and then he ran in the opposite direction, to making a lot of noise trying to lead it off. I mean, it's all gibberish. It's all crazy. I don't know if they were maybe eating some of the mushrooms that grow up there, or what. I mean, how some of those mountain folks are.
My dad knows a lot about the mushrooms here. A monster, not like a bear or some other, maybe a moose.
Oh, I mean, Helen, you don't believe that. Like I see where you're going with it, but I mean, those are just stories. It's not, there's no like bear monster in Ursa. Somebody would have seen it by now.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. It's just that they're the only people who like know anything.
They said they didn't get a good look at it. They said it was big and it moved very fast and it roared at them.
Yeah. I think so I'm sure you'll probably explain this all to my mom too, but like what do we do now?
Well, we're probably going to try to organize a search party. I think probably the most likely thing that happened is your dad probably got lost. Might have taken a fall, but I'm sure he's all right. He's a capable man. He's been up and down that mountain more times than anybody else I can think of. So, everybody knows he's going to be all right. I wouldn't worry too much about that. And we'll find him. I mean, there's a lot of ground to cover, but it's not the first time somebody's gotten lost up there. We know what we're about.
Yeah. Thank you. And hopefully by now we've arrived at her house.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Ursa is not a big town. You can drive from one side to the other in like 10 minutes. So that you've pretty much just been having this conversation. You pull up outside of your house. You see your mom's car like parked right on the street out front, and you can see she's like at the door. Looks like she just got in. She's still wearing the shirt with the name of the grocery store that she works at.
Mm-hmm.
Before you get out of the car, though, Clay is gonna stop you. He's gonna say, Helen, listen, I know you were outside of the Bear Claw, and I know you were interviewing for a job there. I'd appreciate it if you didn't mention this to Jane.
Well, I feel like I'm gonna have to. I'm supposed to be in work, but if my dad's missing, then I should probably let her know that I'm not gonna come in
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I mean, I wouldn't want you to lie or nothing like that. I wouldn't want to ask you to do that. But you've been gone for a while, so you probably don't know this, but Jane's had a lot of run-ins with our department over the past few years. Got a lot of crazy stories, kind of like the ones these hikers are saying, and I'm just worried that if she hears about it, she's gonna start looking into it herself, and the last thing we need is more people missing or lost up on that mountain.
Oh, okay, Clay. I'll try to be vague then, I guess. Run. She's not like, I mean, she's not in jail, so she's not like,
No,
you
not breaking the law per se, but not even really interfering with ongoing investigations, but just she's always kind of there, and she rarely has a good explanation for why. And like I said, some of the times it's crazy stories, like real wild stuff.
Okay. Thanks again for the ride home. And for the warning, I guess.
I
Just
mean,
thanks.
if it makes you feel any better, just consider it a favor. Just trying to protect her. Just trying to protect everybody.
Sure.
Those woods get dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
All right.
Clay. And then she'll head over to her mom and like give her a hug, and sort of fill her in on what Clay had told her about like what's going on next with the investigation and everything.
Yeah, she's pretty much up to speed. A different deputy drove out to Comanche to her job to tell her, because they also couldn't get a hold of her by phone since she was at work. And so she's pretty much filled in. But yeah, I mean, she's very clearly, like, you go inside and she's very clearly, trying to put on a brave face. And she's, no, she is acting like she's not worried. You know your mom well enough to know that she is a little bit worried, but also this probably isn't the first time your dad has been gone longer than expected without getting word to you, because he can't really when he's on the mountain. It's just the first time that like other people have come back and said, hey, something happened. That seems like, if you had to guess, that's the only reason why, like, the police are involved and there's all this concern about it. Yeah, your mom, I imagine if your mom does the very mom thing of coping by like making tea or coffee or food or anything like that. And so
I think that Helen is doing the very like daughter thing of like, when the mom starts mom coping, the daughter starts like hovering around and is sort of like helping in the process of the mom coping, not crashing and burning into a fiery like blaze, and it's terrible. So she's just like doing the dishes and like helping clean up, and being like, oh yeah, this is great, mom, thank you, I would love more of the food that you're cooking. One person. For For
Um,
sure.
she cooks for a while. You do the dishes. You spend some time together. There's that sort of tension that's hanging around a little bit. And after a while, after you've eaten and she's kind of like run out of things to do, she's sort of standing there and looking around for more tasks that she could focus on, and she's kind of coming up blank. So she is going to stretch and yawn in a very exaggerated way and say that she's going to go lie down. She's very tired. It's a very long day at work. And if you need anything, feel free to get her.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that Helen will do the thing that happens in shows like this where as soon as her mom like goes up to bed, she'll pull out like her laptop or something and start like researching the ghost bear and like the folklore around it.
Yeah.
For Ursa, because like she grew up here, so she heard like one-off stories, but everyone talked about it in like it's not real though, or like this is a story I'm going to tell you as a child to freak you out, from like camp counselors or something. And so she's going to like look into it like she's actually researching something.
Okay, absolutely. Would you like to roll to investigate a mystery?
Sure.
Roll with sharp.
That is a 9.
All right, with a 9, you can ask one question from the list. So you can ask what happened here, what sort of creature is it, what can it do, what can hurt it, where did it go, what was it going to do, or what is being concealed here?
I am going to ask maybe what is being concealed here? Like if there's any, like in the vein of like the origins of the ghost bear, like what do people think, like, oh, what is being covered up? Like, is there a conspiracy or something?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so you will find some information on what is being concealed here. You do find, mostly when you start looking into it, just the insane amount of reports about Ursa, like documented law enforcement reports, government reports, news accounts, all kinds of things of just the frankly baffling number of people who have gone missing, incidents there have been over the years. It's one of those things where like, you remember vaguely some of this stuff happening in the town, but until you see all of the evidence laid out in front of you, you forget exactly how much of this has happened. It's Sunnydale syndrome essentially.
Yeah,
where,
it's Helen's definitely doing the mental math of this,
right,
like
exactly. And I think in a lot of the news reports that you're going through, there are photos. A lot of them are more recent, but you start to notice a trend, which is as you're looking at the photos of crime scenes and people being interviewed and things like that, you spot in the background of almost every single one of these photos someone you recognize, and it's Jane.
Yeah, I think that Helen is sort of just taking note of a lot of these things. Making note about Jane, what Clay had said, which was weird. And now this weird coincidence of Jane being in all of the photos. And she, I think, is tempted to reach out to Jane. But I think that part, like the other half of her brain that's trying to rationalize everything, is like, well, Jane's lived here for like all her life, like I have, like maybe she just has like a weird interest in it. Like it's not that big of a deal. you know, it could be just a weird coincidence. I probably shouldn't overreact to this. And then she's going to just uh, keep sort of like going over all of what she's been learning. And yeah, I think that she'll just continue to do that. And like while also brushing off this one through line a little bit.
Yeah, I will say that the last thing you find as you're going through all of these reports is one particular news story, and you find the corresponding police reports and everything as you're going through it. But you find one news story from about, say, 5 years ago, and it was that the headline reads. The headline reads. It's from the local newspaper, which is probably based in Comanche, but the headline reads. Raging fire claims buildings in Ursa, and then the subtitle is no casualties, no deaths, thanks to local woman. And in the news story, the picture that goes along with this news story is of the old schoolhouse in Ursa, and it on fire. There's a blaze. You've probably seen it since you've been back in town, the old school building, which is basically just a burned out old husk that is waiting to be knocked down. The only reason they haven't yet is the town leadership hasn't decided what to do with it exactly yet. So it's just kind of standing there for now, this burned out old husk. In the picture, you can see where it's on fire. There's an inferno raging. And in the news story, as you read on, it mostly talks about the people who are inside the schoolhouse, the students and the teachers, and they are basically all telling the same story about how this like local woman came in and saved them all from dying. And Jane is identified by name in that as that woman.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think that Jane sort of starts to like she pulls up like maybe like a errant like Word document or something and is like hyperlinking certain things and just types Jane and then question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark.
Putting that communications masters to good use.
Yeah, honestly. And she just sort of I guess waits because like going out on her own would be a bad idea and everything. So I think she's just gonna wait until
Right.
maybe morning or something. She's just gonna be at her house.
Sounds good. The other three of you, the rest of the group, you make your way out to Bob's shack. It's not a particularly long trip to get there. As we've established, you can cross most of Ursa in about 10 minutes or so by car. But you get out to the shack, which is, to be fair, a little farther outside of town proper, just not quite in the trees yet. Yeah, the remains of that old like Model T truck are still lying there, and it's probably getting on to about like dusk at this point. By the time you like do all of that research, that took a while, and then made the trip out to Bob's, it's getting on towards dusk. So you're standing there. The shack is there. Bob, are you like doing any last minute cleaning? Are you trying to straighten things up for your guests?
Yeah, just very kind of like trying to brush away some dust, but it's a pointless task in all honesty. And he's only got like 2 chairs, and they're recycled ones. A bed which is nothing more than kind of a very thin mattress, and that's pretty much all of his possessions. And as he's kind of doing that, he kind of turns to Jane and says, Miss Jane, I know we've seen a lot of strange things in our time, but do ghosts really exist? I mean, I don't ever recall having seen one.
And Jane just debates with herself as to whether to clue Bob into this. They're not common, but they do exist. I've run into one in my life. But ghost bear they tend to be if a ghost is going to exist, it tends to be of a person. And so all the legends about Ursa, it's not really a ghost, it's more of a spirit bear. And we really should name this thing, if only so that we don't keep saying ghost / spirit bear.
An abundance of
know.
options to choose from in chat.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what brought that on. Barry.
Barry works.
Barry works.
Barry works. Barry the spirit bear. I dub thee. And I get my investigation on with the truck, and see if there's any claw marks or anything of that nature that would indicate more of that.
I'd probably produce like a flame from my hand to try and give you some light so that you can see a little bit better. Perfect. Takes a bit of concentration, but yeah, just so that you can kind of see a little better.
If you are working together on this, Jane, you can roll to read a bad situation, which I think this would qualify as, which is also with Sharp. Tal, Bob is definitely helping out by providing light. Yep. So if you want, you can roll with Cool to help out. Eliza, if you also want to help with the investigation, you can also roll Cool to help out, but be aware that if you fail that roll, you potentially exacerbate the situation. So totally
my Cool is -1, so you know what? I'm just gonna sit here.
Let them do their thing.
Three's good, isn't it?
I mean, you're on your way to that advance.
3.
So go ahead and mark it.
Oh yeah, 3.
I got an 8.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, Bob's 3 does not negate your 8, so you still can hold 1, and you can spend it to ask any of the read a bad situation questions, which generally speaking more apply to active situations. This is a little bit more of a passive situation, but we'll just get creative with it. I think this qualifies more as a bad situation than investigating a mystery. So feel free to pick a question if you want to ask that. Bob. I'm going to say that, well, we'll get to that. We'll get to what happens as a result of your
okay.
Yeah.
Bob sets Eliza on fire. No kidding.
Don't worry too much about it. Do you want to ask a question now, Jane?
Yeah. Are there any dangers we haven't noticed?
Perfect. Okay. I think that goes hand in hand. So I think that definitely makes sense. Jane, I think that you have been at this long enough that you know what it feels like when you are being observed magically, when someone is scrying on you. There's a certain sensation, the hair stands up on the back of your neck, you get goosebumps, things like that. You start to feel that prickling sensation at the nape of your neck as you are examining the truck, and you get the feeling that you are being watched through magical means. You're not sure who's doing it, but you do know that it's happening. And you have had enough run-ins with the Wickworth Academy and the students to know that 9 times out of 10, when you felt this sensation, they're the reason why.
Okay.
Um,
Damn kids.
damn kids. Honestly.
Never off their scrying devices. Oh, it's just terrible to see.
The state of the youth. You really gotta.
I just flip off the air in hopes that it's like the scrying that they're doing is visual, and so that they see me like going, piss off.
Mhm. Bob.
Yep.
You roll a 3. You summon a small flame to try to help Jane and create more light for her to see things. But you do feel it as you're standing there with the flame conjured in your hand. You do feel it starting to grow, and you see it starting to grow. Well, you feel the power starting to grow. What you're observing is actually the flame sort of drawing inward, almost like condensing on itself, being compressed into a smaller point of light. However, you're not the one doing this. You know what it feels like when you lose control. It does not look like this, and it does not feel like this. This is something else, and you're not sure exactly what it is. But you can feel this, you can feel it building, and you have a split second of warning before this goes off like a bomb. What do you do?
I guess I'll kind of pull back and just try and throw it as far into the air as possible.
Okay. I'm gonna need you to roll with cool to act under pressure.
Okay, good. Oh, okay. That is 9 minus 1, so that is an 8.
All right. With an 8, you can do it, but I'm going to give you a worse outcome, hard choice, or a price to pay.
Okay.
I think what I am going to say, your price that you have to pay if you want to do this, if you want to save Eliza and Jane and your shack, is you can toss this away, but you are still going to be a little bit in the blast radius, and you are going to take, we'll call it 1 harm from that.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool.
They're important to me, and I wouldn't want. I'm aware I've hurt people in the past with my abilities, so I definitely want to protect them over me.
Okay. Yeah, you take this flame that you had held in your hand, that you'd conjured in your hand, and you sort of softball throw it, overhand throw it away from you up into the air, right before it explodes, and it goes off like a landmine with a loud explosive noise, and it sends like fire radiating out. Bob, you are thrown to the ground by the force of the explosion, and you do get burned a little bit in the process. Mostly singes your clothes, but you feel it a little bit on your skin as well. Eliza and Jane, you are fine, if not a little startled because of Bob's actions. And I will say that Helen, from your house in town, you hear a distant explosion.
Oh dear. Okay.
I feel like either Eliza or Jane has a first aid kit on like a first aid kit, like constantly, like
definitely
one of us is going
maybe
to
both of them.
So Eliza gets our first aid kits, just like, let me see where you got burned.
Well, that one wasn't me. Normally, I know I have a few issues, but that was something else. Something else did that. There's something else out here.
You can absolutely just like rub some burn ointment onto Bob's burn marks.
Yeah.
It's all around his neck. Just like that.
Ooh.
It's my favorite shirt as well. It's his only shirt as well. But that's the
By process of elimination.
yeah.
Yeah.
Eliza has been looking around the shack and been like, I know I live in a similar like kind of setting, but at the same time, I have at least more than this. Like she gets her money for her shifts and she has multiple pairs of clothing and more than 2
I know this isn't the case, but all I can think of is the men really live like this meme where it's like a camping chair and like a PS5.
That's exactly, yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much it. It's definitely extra. The 2 chairs are external furniture. They're not
Right.
they're not proper chairs. Yeah.
Just one fork,
Just one.
Yes.
Fork, yeah.
one
Yeah.
errand fork.
One fork, one plate. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, your burn starts to feel better pretty much instantly as the ointment does its work. Yeah. What are you doing now?
Well, let's not do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be more careful. But yeah, let's chalk that up to another weird thing happening out here tonight.
I will give you this as well, Jane, because you were examining the car. You kind of like fall to the ground with the force of the explosion. You're not hurt by it, but you are knocked off your feet a little bit. And from where you land on the ground next to the wreck of the car, you can see like the door of the car that was thrown off when it crashed, and underneath it, you see marks of some kind. You flip it over as you stand up, and you can see that they are claw marks. They are huge gashes in the metal of the door.
Does this confirm the bear theory or at least lend extra evidence to it?
That is up to you. I can't tell you, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it seems to line up with. It seems bearish.
Yeah. All right. Well, the kids from the magic school are involved somehow, or at least they're watching me, which, we've had this discussion. Please stop.
Well, if you want me to go on up there and rattle a few heads, I'd be more than happy to for you.
Do you have to see somebody to hex them?
To do it like quickly, I think so. I think a case could be made that you might be able to do it as a ritual, but you would probably need some kind of link to them, like something biological or a possession that they owned and kept very close to them, something like that.
I was gonna just think if somebody's watching them, maybe Eliza could try hexing the people watching.
Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah, I'm down to try for that. Yeah, you can kind of like try to reach out and see if you can find this like magic connection and sort of like try to send feedback down the line. I think that's very cool.
Yeah. All right. So do I roll weird then?
Yes, roll with weird.
Oh fuck.
That's what you want to hear.
That's a good roll then, yeah.
Don't roll onto a carpet. That's my advice. Because it doesn't roll, it just lands. And it landed on 2 1s, so that's a 4.
Well, mark an experience. So you got that going for you. So hex is like an extension of the use magic move. You can add a couple extra abilities with that. You did fail, so the effect, we don't have to determine the effect via use magic because it didn't work. But what I will say happens is, yeah, you do sort of reach out with your senses, your extra senses, and you locate, it almost feels like a object floating in the air. Like you can sort of sense it, almost like echolocation, you'd imagine. You can feel it there, and you can feel that that is what is observed, what is fixed on Jane, what is observing Jane. And you reach out to touch it with your own power. But as you do so, as you reach out to touch it with your own magic, it kind of feels like touching it feels like sticking a fork in an electrical socket. Like you just feel like the feedback hit you. And it doesn't like knock you off your feet or anything. I will say that you are going to take one harm from that as well. But as that happens, as you feel that backlash hit you, you're pretty sure you hear, even though it is echoey and distorted, the sound of someone giggling.
Nah, fuck it, I'm gonna try again.
Well,
That's an 8.
okay, all right, with an 8. So you can absolutely double down. You hear them laugh, and that sets you off. You double down on your efforts, and so I think what would you say the intent of this is to do? You could like the use magic options, you could inflict harm, you could banish something, so you could try to end this like scrying effect. Okay, cool. The ending the effect, basically banishing.
Mhm.
All right, cool. So with an 8, it works imperfectly. You choose your effect and a glitch. So your glitch is the effect is weakened. The effect is of short duration. You take another harm. The magic draws immediate unwelcome attention, or it has a problematic side effect.
Let's say it's of short duration. Like we have a bit of time before they are able to
Cool. Yeah,
scry
so
on us again.
you can end the effect, but you definitely didn't like cut it off entirely. You're not sure when they'll be able to reestablish that connection. But you do that. You end the effect. They can't see you anymore. And because you were hexing, you also get to pick the target contracts a disease, the target immediately suffers harm, or the target breaks something precious or important.
I want to give them a disease.
I had a feeling.
Love it.
Well, they shocked me. I feel
Yes.
they should get a
What
disease.
are you thinking as far as this disease is concerned? Are we talking like leprosy or
Make it real biblical.
yeah,
In that case, leprosy would.
leprosy? Yeah. Yeah.
No, they cough up frogs
All
and
right, cool.
locusts.
I mean, you're pretty confident if they can do magic, they can probably, cure themselves of whatever this disease is, but for a little while they're going to be having a bad time. So you give them leprosy and
Eliza's done really
very
nothing
funny.
so far, and except for be quiet, offer water, immediately drop it, and now give somebody leprosy because they shocked her.
do you think that this
Love
is do you think that there is a visual manifestation of all of this going down, or do you think like everybody else just kind of sees you sitting still and quietly while like all of this is happening in like the ethereal plane or whatever?
My hair probably started singeing
Okay.
a little bit when I felt like when they shocked me,
When you get the
and so
feedback.
they just see me like glaring into space, like zoning out, and then go yes.
And that is what you see.
And then Jane probably stops feeling the person
Yes.
watching.
Yeah. The feeling ends.
Thank you, Eliza.
You're welcome. They shocked me.
Are you okay?
They shocked me the first time. And it really hurt. It's very rude of them to spy on me, spy on us, and then shock me for trying to stop them.
Rude even for them.
I hate that school. Fuck that school.
Me too.
I hate that school.
Fuck this magic school.
And
the
that's the
magic
end
school.
of the one shot.
Yeah.
The credits roll, and that's it.
Goodbye.
You gave them all leprosy. Solved the problem. The town is saved. I do like I do like that in your account, you're like, oh, they shocked me. That was awful of them. I can't believe they did that. But you don't mention that you gave them a fatal disease.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I feel like I probably should mention that.
I mean, lies in my nuts.
It's like, I mean, in their defense, I might have given them upper C afterwards, but in my defense, they shouldn't have shocked me.
Remind me not to get on your bad side.
You really
Yeah.
shouldn't. I am very petty.
Duly noted.
I mean, they've got a nursing staff. It's probably not a big deal.
Yeah,
them.
I remember one time I was there. This kid got really sick, started coughing up like blood and frogs and locusts.
Totally unrelated to me. I don't know how that happened. It was pretty crazy.
They were
Yeah.
fine after.
So
like,
they
I
had
don't
a
know, 2
literal plague.
weeks. Yeah, it's amazing for a magic school how biblical some of these illnesses get, you know.
Yeah.
But they were fine eventually. So I feel like leprosy isn't going to be that, you know,
Mhm.
hard for them to cure.
Helen, you heard this explosion. All you could really tell about it roughly was that it came from the rough direction of the kettle drum.
Mhm.
What are you doing with that information? Are you investigating? What are you thinking?
I think that Helen will try to pinpoint like what could have possibly exploded based off her like knowledge of like the kettle drum and everything in
Mhm.
this town. It's probably not an easy thing to do.
Well,
But she'll
yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
She'll like be standing on her front porch now, just like sort of looking in the direction of where the explosion came from.
All you can really see now, because you were inside when the explosion happened, is a faint like trail of smoke
Mhm.
disappearing into the sky. But you do remember, I think you do flashback as you're standing there to like when you were a little bit younger and you would hang out with your dad while he was packing to go on these hikes and guide people up there. And you remember that he would like always have a gun with him. And you asked about it as you were a kid, because I think you were probably like, I didn't know we owned a gun or anything like that. And he was like, he explained it to you. He said that it's a flare gun. And if you're going to be on a mountain, you always want to have one with you so that people can find you if you get lost or injured and you can't move.
Mm.
So that memory comes back to you as you're looking at this like smoke trail disappearing into the sky and remembering
Oh no.
the explosion.
Did we get false hope?
Whoops.
I think that Helen will sort of go off with the little bit of knowledge that she has from her dad about like hiking and like safety and whatever. She's probably changed by now too into like normal clothes. So she'll put on her own like hiking boots that haven't been used in a very, very long time. And we'll sort of like trek on in.
Are you taking your 2008? What was it? Was it like a?
It was like a 2008 Toyota Camry.
2008 Toyota Camry, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very specifically like that car, packed full of nostalgia. I think that she'll take her car with her, and then she'll like grab like a reusable like water bottle that's like filled and like just random errant things that she'll probably need in case there is like her dad does need help, so like maybe rope or something like stuff like that, and then she'll put it in the car and then go.
Cool. Yeah, you've got all that. You drive your Camry, your 2008 Toyota Camry, out to the edge. You're following this like smoke in the direction that you know the sound of the explosion came from. Eventually, you basically drive until there is no more really drivable road, at least not for a 2008 Toyota Camry. And from there, by that point, you're actually pretty close. You can the smoke is dissipated by now, but you have kind of marked it in your mind, and you know that you are pretty close to where it is coming from, or where the explosion originated from. So you get out of your car, you make the rest of the way on foot, and as you do so, in the dead silence of the mountain at nighttime, aside from like crickets and a little bit of animal noise, you see a shack, and you hear the sounds of people talking, and like you see light from inside the shack. You also see a broken husk of a very old truck.
I think that with like there's slight doubt, but also like hope, she'll be like, Dad, are like, hello? And then she'll sort of walk closer towards the people talking.
Mid conversation, as you're like touching base about your next steps and what you want to do, all three of you would hear somebody calling out, "Hello, Dad," and getting closer to the shack.
It's I'm no dad. It's I don't get many visitors up here either. Shall I pop out and see who's about?
You crack the door of the shack, and you stick your head out, and Helen, as you get closer to the light, you can see sort of backlit from inside of the shack the face of the man who ran into the coffee shop earlier at the end of your interview.
Can I help you at all, miss?
Oh, sorry, I just sorry to bother. There doesn't happen to be an older Asian gentleman who's hurt or anything in your shack. Well, like my dad. I'm not saying that you hurt him. I'm just saying like maybe you found him.
That's a mighty specific question there, ma'am. No, I just me and a couple of friends. Certainly no other gentleman here.
No, that's okay.
Is he missing?
Yeah. I thought maybe. What exploded here? Are you guys okay?
Jane, at the very least, you would be able to recognize Helen's voice.
Yeah. I kind of get in the doorway with Bob, and
which I'm relieved about. What do I say? It's like, oh, okay, brilliant.
Bob's like, how do I answer this?
Yeah, James has to take over. Fantastic.
No, we're fine. But thank you for asking. Is somebody missing? Knowing full well that the answer is yes.
My dad is missing. He was guiding some hikers, and they've come back, and they have a really weird story about what happened. And it like in her mind, she's like, no, that can't be real. I'm not gonna say that to out loud. I'm not gonna and so she says, do you know, the cops told me not to talk to you about what's my dad going missing, but you seem to be the one person, because you also have crazy stories, to maybe know what actually happened. So I'm going. They said that there were 3 creepy people in the woods, and that there was this monster that roared and was big and moved really fast, and that my dad drew its attention and ran in the opposite direction and saved all of the hikers. So that sounds insane, but you, from what I heard, also have insane stories. So maybe you know what's happened and maybe you can find my dad. Yeah.
Come on in and have a seat in the one
I don't
cooking
have any more.
chair. Wherever you want to.
That's
Please come sit in the dilapidated shack.
There is just a slightly bigger
Nice
rock
trees.
that maybe you can sit
Okay. First of all, doesn't sound crazy. Second of all, I don't have a second of all.
may I was just wondering,
Yeah.
did they get any kind of, did they see this thing out there? Did any kind of description as to size or
on.
anything along those lines?
From what Clay, the
Of course it
Deputy-
was Clay who told you to stay away from me. Of course it was.
I hate that guy.
Me too.
he was kind of, yeah, he was kind of a,
He
yeah.
gave me a donut one time.
I mean, good. Yeah.
He got it from the bakery. So like,
Yeah, he gave me a donut from the place I work at. It was probably also to tell me to stay away from Jay.
mhm.
While working at her coffee shop.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't talk to them. Clay did. And Clay told me that they didn't get a good look at the thing, but what he stressed was that it roared, it was big, and it moved fast.
Kind of turn to Jane and just look at her and go, "You're going to want to go into the forest, aren't you?"
Nope.
Man,
Every time we go into the forest, something bad happens.
remember that last time? You and I barely escaped our lives. I do not enjoy going into the forest.
I'm sorry, what? Helen's just there
Well,
with like her father regularly traverses this woods. And so this is the first time she's hearing this in the context of, hey, every single time we go here, it's been perilous to our lives. A question for Will is, when I was looking at all of these missing people cases and documentation, how did I also see whether or not these cases were resolved and how many people were found alive?
Yeah, very few of them. I mean, I guess it depends on your definition of resolved. Very few of them are resolved in the sense that there was any kind of satisfactory answer given. There are some cases where people showed back up or like wandered out of the woods or were found and were largely okay. But there are also lots of cases where that just didn't happen. And eventually they were just kind of cold cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did the people who were found, right, also have weird stories, or were these just genuine, I got lost in the woods, found my way back kind
Oh
of
yeah,
deals?
no, they're
Okay.
crazier stories. Many crazier stories. Like people saying, people coming out of the woods and claiming they were possessed, and people claiming coming out of the woods and claiming that aliens abducted them. People saying that they wandered into like another dimension, things like that. Like by comparison, the accounts of these hikers are very tame.
Okay. Helen is going to sort of reluctantly, like she also isn't believing what's coming out of her mouth right now. But based off of there are 3 creepy people thing and like some of the survivor accounts that she's heard, will go, it's not aliens, right?
I'll definitely turn to Jane and go, dude, is that a possibility? Have you seen aliens?
It's not aliens.
It's not aliens.
It's not around here, at least. You know, if you go farther
Whoa,
south into
wait,
New Mexico,
what?
but
Hey,
It's not our problem.
not our
no,
problem.
wait, but you
Not our
actually,
problem.
have you actually seen them?
No, my cousin has,
Damn.
and she's like me.
Oh, damn.
I've seen
That's,
aliens.
whoa, wait, what?
I'm not from here, remember?
Oh man, this world is all sorts of crazy.
We're sequel baiting so hard right now. God.
Donate enough for a sequel. No, I'm kidding.
You know what? I'm just going to take everything that I'm hearing at face value now.
That's probably wise.
Yeah. If you know that it's not aliens, do you know what this could be then?
I have some theories as to what it is. But none of them confirmed.
Are you sure you want to tell her?
I mean,
her dad's missing.
Yeah,
well,
but do you want to bring her into it? Like,
it's you know what happened when we had to tell other people about this, and they don't always take it well.
Like, no offense, she seems really nice, but
I'm gonna just interject because it's as charming as this conversation about me in front of me is happening. I just feel like it. I didn't know what to think. Earlier, I look, if me being with you guys means that there is actually something happening, because why wouldn't the cops go off of the one lead that they have? Anyway, you seem like you would take the word of the hikers more seriously, and they were the last people who knew where my dad was. So I'm going to stick this out because I need to know what happened to him. And even if that means I figure out that aliens exist or whatever, I'll do it, because I need to find my dad. I need to do that for myself and for my mom. So I'm staying around even if you guys don't think it's a good idea. And I probably also am at least a decent navigator, because my dad also took me hiking in these woods. So if you need a good reason to keep me around, there's that one.
I like lean over to Jane, like, I can still hex her.
Let's give Helen leprosy too.
We'd love you to come along, but you're not looking well. Oh dear, no.
You should
Oh.
sit home and let us take care.
Yeah.
Well, you're the boss.
You're already sitting down.
Down to you.
You already sat down at the table.
You
so-
invited me to the table.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
You're fine.
There's a dog outside. Just
yeah.
all of a sudden,
You hear the bays of a coyote.
So you know all those legends about the town, about the spirit bear and how all this weird stuff kind of happens around here.
Its name is Barry.
Its name is Barry.
Mhm.
It's very real.
Mhm.
So all of that is real.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Could yeah. Okay. Could someone survive an encounter with this thing?
That is an excellent question. I would
That's
like
an-
to know the answer to that as well.
That is an excellent question. It depends on the type of encounter, and I don't know.
Okay.
You know, if your dad ran off, then he could have lost. He could have, you know, shaken off the bear in the woods, or yeah, I mean, there's no reason to think he's dead. He's just missing.
Where did the police say the hikers last saw your dad?
Yeah.
They described sort of a forking of paths, and my dad told them to run in one direction. And then he drew the attention of the bear and ran the other way. Based off of that, would I have like a gauge as to like where in the woods that would be?
I think all four of you do, but I think you have different knowledge of this because for you, Helen, you're pretty sure you know the trailhead, but like as far as you know, yeah, it's a fork in the road. One way leads farther up the mountain, and the other way leads down the mountain. For the rest of you, you've spent enough time in these woods as well. You also know the branch in the trail. You're pretty sure that is being described here. One way, if you turn right on the trailhead, leads back down the mountain towards Ursa. If you turn left at the trailhead and go farther up the mountain, that path takes you right by the Wickworth Academy.
Oh.
Man.
No.
Man.
Can I use magic to see if I can observe the academy, or right by the academy, see if I can find her dad?
Interesting.
I guess I'm just looking for, as she put him in older Asian gentleman, I believe was the words you used.
Yeah.
So you can roll to use magic. Roll with weird, and the effect I think in this case is going to be observe another place or time, which makes total sense. So go ahead and roll weird.
That is a 12 total.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. So with a 12, you it works without issues. You don't get a glitch. You just have your effect that goes off so you can observe another place. You focus on this description. And Ursa is a small enough town that it's very fair to say, I think that you probably know who Helen's dad is. Pretty much everybody, stops through the Bear Claw. So even though you might not know him by name, you have definitely had an older man in hiking gear come through, and you've gotten him coffee and like baked goods and stuff like that. So you focus on that image that you have in your mind, and what does this look like in your mind, Knox? Because Eliza doesn't do magic sort of traditionally. So how do you envision this sort of effect working when she does it?
Her hair probably starts like sticking up a bit. And she's just like glaring off into the distance. Kind of like when you zone out and you're just like, people think you're really angry at them, but you just so happen to be staring in their general direction because you're completely checked out of whatever's going on. She's kind of doing that into the distance, and her hair starts to stick up, and she starts like float off the chair a little bit. Because why the hell not?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Your vision clears. You stare off into the distance, and you kind of, let yourself drift off, and you follow this mental image that you're holding in your mind of Helen's dad. And it's at first you only see darkness, and then your vision clears, and you're not sure exactly what it is you're looking at, because the majority of what you see is still dark, except there is a bright spot. There is sort of this oval shaped space within the darkness, and that is lit up with blue light, softly glowing, clearly magical blue light. It's hard to tell exactly where this is. You can't really get a sense of geographic location, but you do see this little space, and lying in the space, lying on the ground of this space, illuminated by this softly glowing blue light, you do see Helen's dad. He does not appear to be awake. Whether he is sleeping or unconscious, you don't know, but he does appear to be breathing.
Is he bleeding or anything? Like no physical injuries, he's just knocked out?
He doesn't look hurt as far as you can tell. Maybe some like scratches and cuts, but definitely not the kind that would be caused by like a bear attack, for example, more along the lines of like what would happen if you like took a fall on a mountain, or like got, whipped in the face with a branch or something like that.
Okay, so the good news is, I know where your dad is. The good news is he's not dead. Bad news. He's at the academy.
Oh man, I thought we were going to be able to avoid them with this.
I hate going to the academy.
You hate going to the academy. Okay, that's fair. Did you like thinking about it? That's fair. That's fair. Nope, that's valid. Sorry.
The academy.
So, in other breaking news for you tonight, there's a magical school on top of the kettle drum, and they tend to fuck things up, and we have to clean them up.
There's a magic academy at the top of the kettle drum.
Yeah.
And these are no nice boys and girls who, practice making things move and stuff like that. These are real pains in the ass that will do whatever they feel like. And before you know it, you've got, all sorts of terrible things going on.
With no regard to the fact that they live several miles outside of a residential area.
No regard.
And these asshats have my dad?
Yep.
Pretty much.
Okay. She sort of gets up and is like, so when are we gearing to go?
Eliza
I'm
just
gonna-
looks at Jane like I
That's a very good line. So I'm going to say we should take that opportunity to smash cut to when you are geared up and ready to go.
Yes.
So you say
insert
that.
montage.
Yeah, we're going to smash cut to black. And then during that time, you can go back to, assuming you're not wasting any time, assuming you are going to go up the mountain tonight, you can go back to the bear claw and stock up from the weapon wall. I don't know. I mean, I know Eliza and Bob don't really use much gear, traditionally speaking.
She grabs a giant chef's knife and puts it in her boot.
Just like an Edgar Wright smash cut montage of Jane like taking down like swords and shotguns and weapons from this wall, and then like Bob, kind of
Just
like
eating a sandwich at a table, just really
Yeah.
like
all of this really cool footage of like Jane, like pumping a shotgun, cleaning a sword, all of this
yeah.
interspersed with Bob eating a sandwich at a table and Eliza just like pulling out a kitchen knife and like looking at it, shrugging, and then like
You'll see Helen open the trunk of her car again and reach in, and there's a baseball bat there that belonged to her at her, like one of her exes from like college or something, who was a softball player. So yeah, she just grabs the bat and it's just like, all right, and she sort of like swings it around, and that's like her one badass moment. But then she's also like tying her shoelace.
right, exactly, yeah.
I was really hoping she swung around, accidentally hits herself.
Try to flip it, you drop it.
Yeah, that cool like bat flip thing from Twilight.
You like use your you try to key fob lock your car and it's not working, so you have to put the key in the lock and actually lock it manually, and then you are ready to go. So if you're using Bob's Shack as a staging area, then we will just smash cut to like an hour or two later where all of you are standing geared up ready to go, kind of facing the like entrance to the woods that lead up to the kettle drum. And you're setting out on the trail.
Yep.
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 Very good. Okay. You start moving through the woods. It is very dark by this point, but you are pretty used to doing this, pretty used to navigating the woods at night. You can absolutely have flashlights with you if you want. That's probably safer than relying on Bob creating fire.
Yep.
In the woods, what could go wrong?
100%.
What could go wrong?
No wrong.
Yeah, Helen probably definitely has like those ridiculous like flashlights that like for like heavy duty like hiking and stuff, they like have like the physical beam that you can see with them. So she'll probably have like one or two of those, but probably she didn't expect like a full entourage, so she probably doesn't have enough to go around.
Right, absolutely.
Jane's got some flashlights that she could, yeah.
I was gonna say Jane's probably more than prepared. If
Bob's
anything,
gonna-
Bob will set himself on fire.
Yeah. Bob's going to kind of flash into the infrared spectrum. So every now and then, just his eyes just turn red completely. Just checking for heat sources and make sure we're not being followed or there's not going to be somebody jump out on us and attack us or anything on those lines.
Oh my God, we have our own ghost hunting equipment
Yeah.
in our humans.
Moving through the woods, the kettle drum is not a large mountain as previously established, but it is still a mountain. So it is not an easy travel. It is not an easy journey. It definitely takes some effort. You're definitely breaking a sweat, but there is a trailhead that you can follow at least most of the way. And after about, I will say, another hour of traveling, of hiking, you reach the fork in the trailhead, where one will take you back down the kettle drum and the other direction will take you farther up, which the three of you know will take you right by the academy itself, the tower.
Go right.
You turn, you take the path to take you right by the school, and you keep climbing. Bob, as you are moving through the woods at this point, and switching into the infrared, the next time you switch into the infrared spectrum, you see something right outside of your right in the periphery of your vision. You see a heat signature like flash past you in the woods off to the right of the trail.
Okay, very quietly, I'll just go, ladies, we've got something out there, and it's damn fast. No idea what it is, but well, it's time to get ready.
Jane will just draw one of her swords and just to like have it out.
Is it the silver one or the cold iron one?
Oh,
Silver, because I could always switch.
Mhm. Absolutely. All right, so you've got a sword in your hand. How's Helen feeling about that? Just like a big sword comes out.
You know,
In the grand
Helen,
scheme of things.
Helen, I think, is like in that mode where she's just like, I'm literally not gonna ask a single question. Because like at this point, Eliza was just like, hey, I saw your dad, even though like what happened was Helen just saw her hair float up a little bit, and then maybe her eyes like go into that middle distance stare.
she did also float a bit.
Yeah, and so she was just like, okay, that's cool. And then like we got Bob here, whose eyes just went completely red, and she saw that and she was like, I'm still not gonna ask any questions. Now the sword's out, and she's just like,
it's fine.
she's just like, okay then. And like she has her bat at the ready. It's not as impressive as a silver sword, but she's just like, okay, this is what I'm doing now.
Okay. Yeah, so you have your weapons out, you're readied. You keep moving, presumably, unless you're stopping.
I think we keep moving.
Cool. Nothing happens for another 20 minutes or so as you continue climbing the mountain. It's getting steeper and steeper. It's getting a little bit harder the farther you go, and you're nearing a section of it where the tree coverage clears a little bit, and you know that at that point you would be able to see the academy building. It is not quite like the top of the mountain. It's more about halfway up, but it does sit on its own like shelf. So you know you're getting very close to it. But as you continue moving, as you are nearing that clearage, I'm going to say that a figure, and Bob, you get a little bit of a warning on this because you have your infrared vision on, but a figure leaps out of the underbrush very, very quickly and is going to, I think it's going to actually try to pounce on Eliza, who is one of the only people not like openly carrying a weapon.
Great.
So what the rest of you see, and Bob, you will have the opportunity to act on this since you had a little bit of a warning. What the rest of you see is this big cat come leaping out of the underbrush and pouncing on top of Eliza. It's hard for you to tell right now, but you're pretty certain, those of you who have seen these before, that it's a mountain lion. And Bob, what would you like to do as it pounces on top of Eliza?
Okay, so as it goes to pounce, what I'd like to try and do is kind of form my hands and create like a strong gust of wind to push Eliza out of the way, so that it doesn't, so it kind of pounces into nothingness.
Okay. What you were doing is protecting someone, so I want you to roll with tough.
That is my tough is much. That is a 8.
Okay. With an 8, you protect them okay, but you will suffer some or all of the harm that they were going to get. So
That's cool.
you can create this gust of wind that hits Eliza and pushes her out of the way. So this thing is going to land and not hit her. But unfortunately, it is going to barely land and then basically pivot and leap directly at you. And you're sort of distracted with summoning these winds. So you are going to take 2 harm as it comes down on top of you and its claws rake at you.
Oh dear.
I give the cat the mountain lion leprosy.
All right.
We're playing the long game with this mountain cat.
Yep.
You just wait until 2 weeks time.
Right. I was going to say in 2 to 5 years, this thing is done for. Okay. So you're gonna be using magic if you're hexing. So you can decide if your intent with this magical effect is just to hurt it, then we could just say it's inflict harm. And then you'll roll with weird.
Yeah, I want to hurt it.
Okay.
I want to kill it. Yeah, that's the thing. It's probably not its fault, but
We'll see.
that is a 10.
Okay. On a 10, it works without issues. You are just doing harm to it. So yeah, and you get the extra effect from hex. You can give it leprosy. Yeah, that is the main effect of your magic. It doesn't appear to be physically hurt in any way, but it does sort of rapidly, you see this sort of like sores sort of spreading.
I have a question. If it's got leprosy and it's on top of me, am I gonna catch leprosy?
I mean, that's a great question.
Wow, because Bob
this
is
famously infectious disease.
Yeah.
It's just being spread around by Eliza.
Great question.
Okay, can I just make
Bob
the
has
cat
got
throw up
no
blood and
constitution.
frogs instead of giving the cat leprosy?
Biblical plagues.
The cat just start throwing up
In the
blood,
line of
frogs,
biblical
and
plays, his
locusts.
firstborn will die.
Oh, yeah.
Not for Passover.
If we're pivoting to that, I think it's probably a almost a comical sight because it looks almost exactly like a house cat with a hairball, except it's just like frogs that are coming up.
Great.
And
So just
the
lying there and just frogs again smacked
Yes.
my face.
Yeah.
I, with whatever Helen understands with like what to do in case of a mountain lion, she'll try to do it, whether it's like to scare it away with like flashing the light in its face or like
Okay.
I want to say she does have bear mace, but I want to hold the bear mace.
Makes sense. Yeah, you don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to use your bear mace before the bear.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm
was promised
under
a
this
bear.
thing as well. I don't want. If you hit it with bear mace, I'm under this thing as well.
Poor Bob.
Please be careful with me.
Good old collateral Bob.
You're supposed when there is
That's his name.
when there is a mountain lion, you are just supposed to stand there
Mhm.
as big as possible and scream
Mhm.
at it.
Okay, cool. I'm going to say that you are also acting under pressure then, Helen.
Okay.
So roll with cool to remember what you know about mountain lions and act on that information.
That's a 5.
That is rough.
Yeah.
You shine your light on this mountain lion, and you're actually pretty sure. First of all, mark an experience, but you're pretty sure that you remember this information correctly, and you're pretty sure you do exactly what you're supposed to do. But this thing does not respond like a normal mountain lion. And in fact, what I'm going to say is that as it is afflicted by this ailment, this magically inflicted ailment of frogs, you have literally given it a frog in its throat. The form of the mountain lion on top of Bob is going to shimmer and melt away. And in its wake, it is going to leave behind a human girl who is wearing a black sweater over what looks like a white button-down shirt, and black leggings, and brown Oxfords. She has a blonde hair that is sort of pulled back into a loose bun. And unfortunately, she is now throwing up frogs.
Unfortunately.
I mean,
Yeah.
for her.
For her, yeah.
Yeah.
Can we tell if she's like a student or if
Yes.
Yeah, she's
you would.
student aged.
She is student aged, and you would recognize the uniform. In fact, I would say that there's even a crest on the sweater of the Wickworth Academy.
I haul her like by the collar off of Bob and decidedly direct her mouth like away from me, so she's like puking up frogs, like not on top of me. And Eliza, can you make this stop so she can actually talk to us?
she looks fine?
No, but she can't talk when she's throwing up frogs.
Figure it out.
All right, that's fair.
Also, I don't know how to make it stop. I only know how to do it.
Oh, is it like it's
might
like
wanna
hiccups?
practice that. Yeah, hold your breath.
This is-
yeah.
This is as far as I got in this school. Okay, they kicked me out before I could learn anything else.
Just
Um,
And it's
tip her upside
hold your
down,
breath, breathe
maybe.
into this paper bag. Breathe into this paper bag I conveniently have in my pants pocket. Yeah.
As you say that, Eliza, about getting kicked out, you would hear another voice. All of you would hear another voice say, "Oh, that's why you look so familiar." And another person is going to step out from the tree line. They're going to appear like stepping out of thin air, essentially, that shimmers a little bit as they do so. They are dressed very similarly to the girl, roughly the same age, except this is a boy with dark hair and a very pale complexion, like piercing blue eyes. And he's going to stand there sort of very casually, looks very unconcerned, kind of spares a glance at the girl who is throwing up the frogs, and then sort of like you can see it in his mind, just sort of dismissing it, and then refocusing on you, Eliza. And
Do I know him?
I think you would recognize him. How long ago were you kicked out, would you say?
About a year.
About a year ago? Okay. So you would maybe recognize him, although he was younger the last time you saw him, obviously. He has like grown up since then. You're not entirely certain of what his name is, but you remember it was something very pretentious and annoying.
Just like everyone else in this damn school. Okay, I want to make him throw up frogs.
Okay. You reach out to try to do that, to hex him, and as you do so, he is going to, like, you fix him with your gaze, and he is going to sort of like scoff and like he holds up one hand and pinches the fingers together, and he just like does that motion, and nothing happens. Your hex takes no effect on him.
I hate you. Not you, the DJ.
No, I know.
Okay.
I mean, I was
Just to
assuming.
clarify.
Yeah. Mhm. And he is going to he cancels out the effect, and he says, I suppose we could do this all night if you want, but what is it gonna take for you to release Claudette?
Where's my dad?
Or her name is Claudette.
Oh, Claude.
Is it possible for me to try to manipulate this person into like giving us the information about what he knows about her dad and stuff?
You could try. Yeah, you could roll to
Cool.
manipulate somebody with charm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That is an 11.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, 11 is great. So what are you saying to him to charm him?
He asked like what it'll take for us to like release Claudette. I sort of step and like try to look like as intimidating and not I was just dragged along here an hour ago as possible. And Helen will just be like, tell me where my dad is. And maybe we'll consider letting Claudette go. She looks like she's having a great time.
Rock.
He looks at her and he looks over the rest of you. Jane, you've got your sword out. Bob, do you have any tells of?
Oh, Bob's currently trying to get frog slime off his face.
That's fair.
He's just on the floor, just like,
Yeah.
oh, God.
Eliza will like help him
Damn.
up
Yeah.
and be like, sorry about that. Like try to wipe up. I almost gave her leprosy, so it could have been worse.
Well, that's something to be thankful for.
This guy looks at you, Helen, and he seems to approve. You see him nod a little bit, and he says, I mean, you seem like a halfway reasonable person, which is more than I can say for the company you keep, so I'm prepared to negotiate with you. Yeah.
I heard Eliza say that I almost gave her leprosy part to Bob, and Helen will cock an eyebrow, and with a very like straight and serious face, will be like, the negotiation will be that you tell me what happened to my dad, and with this monster in the woods that you guys seem to just like letting out. Or we will give Claudette leprosy.
Okay, all right. Yeah. He will raise an eyebrow at that, and he'll say, do you have any idea how long leprosy takes?
I heard it's a bitch though to have while you have it, so I'm not trying to kill Claudette. It's just a major inconvenience.
Yeah, in the short term, I'm not sure that's worse than the frog thing, to be honest with you. But
Don't make her throw up locusts too.
She'll do that.
Point made. I understand. Let her go, and I will tell you what you want to know.
I sort of look to Jane and
reverse that. Tell us what we want to know, and then we'll let her go. Look, I have a girl who's puking frogs that's standing right next to me. I don't want to hold on to her any longer than necessary.
Yeah, he looks at you, Jane, and he says, why can't you leave well enough for that? Why do you always do this? Why is it always you?
Because this isn't well enough. You always fuck things up.
Everything is under. It's, first of all, it's Bryce. And second of all,
of course it is.
It's Bryce.
Oh, damn Bryce.
Second
but now I remember you. You suck.
Doesn't he?
Oh, I hated you.
Only one of us got expelled, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, you pretentious little. Like she starts going at him. Like
I try and hold it back. Like
yeah.
No, it's not. He's not worth it. He's not worth it.
Yeah.
Look, the situation is under control. You have nothing to worry about. There's no reason for you to concern yourselves. We have everything well in hand.
So my dad potentially being hurt somewhere is you having things all under control. The fact that this monster attacked my dad and these hikers, that's all part of the plan.
Well, that is the information we are currently negotiating about, isn't it?
Hey, do you remember that time when we almost
I'm
got
about to
torn to
kill him.
pieces in one of the forests and you had everything under control then?
Which
Yeah.
time?
Oh,
I mean, there's
pick
at
a-
least
pick
5 to
one.
choose from.
Pick one.
No, but it's okay. Everyone, Bryce says it's completely under control.
I mean, what? You're like 10 or something? How have you got anything under control?
Funny thing is, he's only a little bit younger than Eliza. That's the funnier part. It's like, hey,
This deal is only on the table for a limited amount of time. There's no reason for this to come to violence or any other sort of unpleasantness, but I'm not going to stand here and be insulted for hours while you decide what you're going to do next.
we did decide though. You're the one who just won't tell us first, and then we'll let go of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did
Just a simple
decide
order
multiple
of
times.
operations.
All right. I can agree to this. I'll tell you what you want to know. You promise, you swear that you'll release her and undo whatever this is.
We don't want to keep her.
Yeah,
I don't know how to
insignificant
undo it.
amount of frogs.
There's just
I
a
don't know
pile
how
of
to undo
frogs.
it, but you could take her to the nurse's office. You kicked me out before I could learn how to reverse it. Don't give me that look, okay? You've been here longer. You stayed. You should be able to fix it.
All right. He will say, he will nod, think about it for a second, and then he nods, and Bryce says, okay, that's fine. Yeah. We saw your dad. He did escape the creature and he ran away. There's a cave a little ways farther up the mountain, and it chased him into there, but it couldn't get to him. The opening was too small. You can, it is up to you. If you want, you can roll to read a bad situation if you want, or you could investigate a mystery. Probably investigate a mystery makes more sense in this regard. And that's to sort of, determine, that's sort of to read him.
Well, I could maybe if I switch to kind of that infrared kind of vision again, I can perhaps pick up some clues from his body and whether his heart starts beating too fast or something along those lines.
Yeah, roll with sharp.
6, 7, 8, 10.
All right.
Eh,
You get to hold 2. So you can hold on to one of those if you want, or you can spend it. What is being concealed here is probably the obvious one for this investigative mystery.
Yeah.
Based on his heart rate and body temperature, he is definitely lying to you.
I'm sure part of this deal would be you telling us the truth. And right now, I am not convinced that you are being forthright with us. Why
Helen,
don't we try this again?
Helen, at the note that this man just tried to lie, will take out her pocket knife and press it to the throat of Claudette, and will be like, at this point, my patience is wearing very thin. Tell me where my father is, or now there will be a problem.
you know what? I changed my mind. I am glad we brought her.
He puts his hand up. He puts his hands up as like a don't do that motion, and is like, okay, look, clearly I read the situation wrong. I thought you were the reasonable one. I wasn't expecting you to display the ruthlessness of someone with a master's in communications.
Perfect.
I think she's communicating very clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this is incredibly
this was-
effective communication.
Yeah, I mean, that's how he could tell. You got a master's in it.
Is anyone
One of
else
the- one of
worried
the
about how he
advanced
knows that?
lessons.
Yeah. No, so he says, oh, no, all right, look, let's not do anything rash or hasty. You don't want to hurt anybody.
Do we not?
Yes, we do.
well, I am not convinced. How
You don't
about
I'm sure you don't want to kill anybody. You're fine, upstanding members of your community. Look, be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. I will take it on faith that you will uphold your end of the bargain. We did see your father.
Where?
Well, I mean, it was in the woods, of course. But he didn't get away from it. It ate him.
I saw him though.
What do you mean?
I saw him. I did learn something here. I was here for like almost an entire year. I did learn some things, and I saw him.
I also saw him get eaten. And Bob, you can roll. I'll roll over your roll. I'll roll over your investigative mystery. This time, he is not lying.
ladies, we have got a problem here. This gentleman is telling us the truth.
Is he alive in the bear?
That sounds crazy to me, but I've told you what I said I would tell you. So
You saw my father get eaten by a bear, and at no point did any of you decide to maybe try to intervene with that, considering this is your monster and your problem. And at this point, Helen is approaching him with her knife like extended forward. She's upset.
I will go and grab her hand and go, easy now, easy.
so you can
It's,
understand my hesitancy in telling you the truth.
I do have a question. We have been led to believe for our own researches that this is not a flesh and blood kind of creature, and I'm wondering, how in tarnation does a ghost bear eat somebody?
Oh God! All right, look, I'm not here to give you a lesson. All right.
I'm just saying, surely it just slipped right through the sucker.
It's not a ghost bear, and we didn't create it, and we didn't bring it here. It's always been here. It's a spirit of the land.
The question stands though, how does an incorporeal being eat somebody who is corporeal?
It's not incorporeal. It's just it's a spirit. It's an embodied spirit. This is like things I learned when I was 11.
So like
Okay.
yesterday.
So
Okay, Bryce.
okay, so pretend that 3 of the 4 of us have never been to this damn school, and the other one got kicked out early and didn't read the textbook.
Again, I'm not here to teach you a lesson. It's a spirit of the land, a genius loci. It is corporeal. It is a creature of pure magic. It protects the land. That's what its purpose is. That's why it's here.
Protect
Why
the
did it eat
land from
Helen's
what?
father?
Yeah, that don't make any sense at all.
Surely he wasn't a threat to the land.
He is going to stand there for a second when you ask him that question, Jane, and then he's going to very quickly hold up his hands and like in closed fists and then open them rapidly, and he's going to disappear back behind another sort of shimmering veil.
Hold her tighter because I have a feeling he's gonna try to come for her.
Yep.
Damn.
Helen is reeling a little bit as the attempt to just not ask questions while is like wearing a lot. So she kind of like sighs a little defeatedly and is like, I get that you guys do this a lot, and like there's the mystery of how a bear ate my dad, but if a bear ate my dad, I'd like to try to get to him as quickly as possible to see if he's okay.
Like a terrible book.
If a bear ate my dad.
It's like a children's book.
The Babysitter's Club and the dad eaten by the bear.
Oh.
Babysitter's Cub.
Oh.
And that's it, guys. That's the end of the show.
We're done. We were supposed to be for another hour, but we all leave in protest.
That's it. That's a wrap.
Hey, look, these assholes wouldn't tell us anything, really. We don't know what's happened. Don't get down on this. Let's do what we do best. We are great at finding out stuff. Let's go take a look. Let's see what actually happened. And, who knows? This could all turn out right in the end anyway. Trust us. We are, if nothing else, professionals.
As Bob is giving this very comforting and inspiring speech, you would notice that the rest of you, the other three of you, would notice a point of light, a little bit of fire appearing at the end of one of his arms. That starts to grow in brightness and intensity a little bit, and then condense into a smaller ball.
Bob?
Yes, Miss Eliza?
She just points at the fire.
Oh, shit.
You hear a disembodied, echoey voice that you recognize say, let's try this negotiation a little bit differently, shall we?
I'm going to take my foot up your ass if you don't come out here.
Now, why on earth would I do that when we could simply blow all of you up from a safe distance?
That's the definition of situation is under control, is it?
It was.
All right, have Frog Puker back. And I push Claudette forward away from me and let her go.
Yeah, she's going to push her down the mountain.
Go get
I push her a little, just hard enough so that she stumbles, but she's upright.
Yeah. She will stumble, but basically like off of the trail. And then as she does so, you see her form shimmer once again and take on that mountain lion form again. And then just leap into the underbrush and disappear, leaving a trail of frogs behind her as she goes.
There's going to be an overpopulation of frog problems soon.
Ecological
collapse. No. Yeah, we've released a different species into a different environment.
No, don't worry. They're native species of mountain frog.
Mountain frogs, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Colorado mountain frogs, we're all familiar.
Yeah.
So she disappears into the underbrush in the cat form, and then Bryce is going to speak again and is going to say, well, I suppose it's useless to ask if you can cure the leprosy in my other friend. So I suppose our business is concluded.
You have a nurse.
Yeah, but that comes with just so many explanations and questions.
Okay, explain that you're a dick.
You receive no reply immediately, but then Bryce will say, once again, you're like not even sure if he's gone, and then that same sort of echoey, disembodied voice is going to say, "Look, we'll tell you this for free, but everything is going to be under control once we reestablish. Everything will be fine once we reestablish control. So just go back down the mountain and sit this one out."
And there it is.
So you're
There's the rub.
admitting to things being not under control currently, contrary to what you originally said.
Well, they were under control, and then they weren't under control, but they are going to be under control again.
So when they stop being under control?
When a group of tourists wandered into the middle of our ritual.
Why were you doing a ritual in the middle of a mountain path?
I don't even know how to begin to answer that question. I mean, you live next to a like nigh a nigh undepletable source of magic in an incarnated nature spirit. Why would you not try to tap into it?
I'm just gonna put it out there, but I'm guessing that in some way you were doing something that pissed this thing off.
So this spirit bear that is the embodiment of the land that attacks what is a danger to the land attacked either a normal group of hikers or people who were trying to exploit its own power by tapping into the magic power that lies within it. I wonder who could have been the fault of that then.
She is good.
Yeah,
I like her.
I like her.
I don't know what to tell you. There's clearly nothing I can say to make you understand this. It's not a conscious creature. It's not a living thing. I'm not sure what issue you're having here, but it's like white blood cells. All we're doing is, taking control of it.
Oh,
No.
control! That's what you're doing. Oh, and here was I thinking you were letting it loose, killing people. My mistake.
But it wouldn't be on the loose if people like you hadn't wandered into the situation. If you just minded your own business.
They were
The
minding their
hikers
own
were.
business.
You are a piece of work.
I
hate this guy. I just say to Eliza.
yeah.
I
under
was
my
just
breath.
trying to
He
give
was the
you
worst.
I was just trying to give you a bit of helpful advice. Just go back to town and sit this one out. It'll be fine by morning.
So will
Helen?
her dad be back by morning then?
I already told you what I saw happen to her dad.
Yeah, but you're saying everything's gonna be fine and it'll be okay, and we just have to wait till morning and everything's gonna be okay. Well, okay for her family is her dad coming back and being safe. Just because it doesn't affect you doesn't mean it's gonna be okay, because for you just gotta carry on, with your stupid magic school that makes no damn sense.
Okay, I don't see how that's my responsibility at all. I'm not the one who went and got eaten.
Helen punches him in the face.
He is invisible, but you can try.
I want to hear where his voice is coming from, and it's time to punch him in
Swing
the
the
face.
bat.
I want to
does-
jinx him so that she has advantage. So that
Okay.
she gets +1.
It does have his voice does have like an echoey, ghostly quality to it. So it's very hard to pinpoint where it is coming from. I will say though, that if Eliza wants to help you, Eliza can roll with cool. And then we'll say that like that help comes your hexing Bryce, which will cancel out his invisibility if it works, and give Helen a +1 to try to hit him. So go ahead and roll with cool, Eliza.
Oh, frick. Oh, okay, that's an 8.
Very good. With an 8, you do it, but you expose yourself to trouble or danger. So we'll get to that in a second. Bryce is going to, that shimmering effect that has been concealing Bryce is going to be dispelled by Eliza's hex. So he is going to come back into view, and he is sort of, he is a few steps ahead of you, Helen. So you can take a couple steps for momentum and then just like swing the bat into him. You are going to roll to kick some ass. So roll with tough and take a +1 to that.
A 9.
Okay, awesome. With a 9, you inflict harm on each other. The amount of harm is based on the established dangers in the game. So you don't get to pick an extra effect, but you can deal your harm. Your baseball bat does how much harm?
My
it's 2.
baseball bat does 2.
Okay, cool. So you clock him with the bat. Like, what are you aiming for? The face? Do you want to describe this?
Yes, Helen sees his form flicker back into view, and she just steps forward and like gets him right in the ribs,
Okay.
I would say. Because she's just fed up with this Bryce. She's done.
You hit him with
yeah.
a bat in the ribs.
Mhm.
And he doubles over. He was not expecting this. He didn't know that he wasn't invisible anymore. So he just immediately is going to start coughing. You knock the wind out of him. He's doubled over. The rest of you see also at the same time, this is the downside of rolling that on kick some ass. And this is also going to be you're exposing yourself to trouble or danger, Eliza. It's going to come into play for both of those. You all become aware, maybe not Helen because you're distracted, but the rest of you become aware that when you dispelled Bryce's invisibility, another person became visible as well. And this person is standing a little ways behind you. Their body, they have like longish brown hair. They do appear to be male presenting, and they are similarly wearing the Wickworth Academy uniform, but they are very their skin is like chalk white. They look a little unsteady on their feet, and you can see sores all over their body. But
Amazing.
but they have one hand extended out towards Bob. And as you hit Bryce in the ribs, that ball of light that has been condensing at the tip of his fingers, this person with leprosy is going to like tighten their fist, and it is going to go off the same way the one outside of Bob's shack did.
No.
No.
And it is going to catch only Eliza and Helen this time around. If anyone would like to try to protect, you can take that opportunity this time. If you want to grab the spotlight and you have a cool idea for how to do that, feel free. But otherwise, that's what's going to happen.
Is Bob going to get hit by it?
I don't think so. No, Bob, he is shaping the blast in this regard, and he can't. Basically, he realizes he can't get all of you in the same explosion, so he is picking his targets.
Okay. I know what Bob might do then.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking is that Bob might try to concentrate really hard to turn this into rock and close his fist around it and try and contain the detonation.
Oh, that's super cool. Okay, yeah, I love that. So let's go with that then. You are going to have to roll to protect someone with tough.
Yep.
Come on, Bob. No, Bob. No.
Okay, so I get -1 to tough, and I rolled 2 1s.
No.
Oh no.
On a 0 to 1. Mark an advancement just in case.
Oh.
Oof. All right, this is gonna be this is gonna be a little rough to figure out, but
hurt.
So this is the downside of protecting somebody, is that if you roll badly, you can potentially make the situation worse. And I think in this regard, that is exactly what has happened. For all of you, Bob, you summon this like rock covering to your arm and your hand, and you try to squeeze it shut around this explosion. But unfortunately, you don't do it quite fast enough. So what ends up happening is the explosion goes off and sends this rock covering flying off of your arm in every direction, and it kind of
Yeah.
creates a shrapnel effect. And now that is going to be extended to everybody. That is going to hit everybody in the clearing. But I will say that it hits everybody in the clearing. I will say that it hits Bryce and this individual with the leprosy as well. And so everybody assembled is going to take, it would have been 2 harm. I'm going to say it's 3 harm with the addition of the shrapnel.
Oh.
I am now unstable.
That was a rough situation.
I am very close to being unstable.
Helen, you take 3 harm as this rock covering that Bob tried to summon over his arm is caught by the explosion and gets turned into shrapnel as it explodes.
Cool.
But
Cool.
Bryce and the other guy also take that damage. Everybody is in not great shape. Would anybody like to grab the spotlight? Does anybody have anything they want to do? Jane, you haven't even had a chance to do anything yet.
Who looks the worst, like out of my friends?
Oh,
Eliza? Yeah, you're unstable. I would like to stand down out of attack mode and go into medic mode and whip out a first aid kit and like try to stabilize Eliza.
Okay.
Like sword on the ground next to me, like still within absolute reach, but focused on Eliza.
Cool. Very good. You can absolutely do that. The person with leprosy who just made the bomb, Bob's like hand bomb go off, is lying on the ground and is not getting up. They still look like they are conscious. They're definitely still breathing. But between the leprosy and just getting hit with a bunch of shrapnel and an explosion, they're currently like sitting this one out. They seem to be having a hard time regaining their footing. Bryce, who is bleeding from a few cuts and the results of that explosion, is going to take this opportunity. Jane, as you are helping Eliza, Bryce is going to point at you and do a brief little chant, and one of your swords slides out of the scabbard and is floating in midair, and he kind of places the tip of it against your back and says, "Why don't we all," he's saying this through gritted teeth, clearly in pain. He says, "Why don't we all just walk away?"
Hey, I'm not the one who made the bomb go off.
Okay.
That is fair.
All right. So that's it.
I look good.
Look, if you want to talk who struck first, she hit me with a bat, and he points to Helen.
And I'll do it
Hey,
again.
You were an ass. You kind of deserve that.
Question.
Yes.
Eliza's thing is that pain is a big part of her dark side.
Mm-hmm.
So does that kind of like if she's in pain, or
I mean, that's open for interpretation.
can she like mess somebody up because she's in a bunch of pain right now?
Yeah, I will give you a like a dark task, which is sort of the mechanic for your dark side. I can give you something to do that your dark side sort of hungers for, and if you do it, you get to mark experience. But if you don't do it, you lose your powers until the end of the mystery. So I will take this opportunity to say that Eliza, your dark side does not want you to back down. Your dark side wants you to punish them.
Oh, God.
Make this so much worse.
Do it. Do it.
I'm gonna the big whammy.
Are you targeting that on Bryce, or
Here's the
he's
thing,
kind of
if-
the only one standing and doing?
I mean, I
stuff.
could kill the other guy, but sure. We'll do it to Bryce.
That is up to you.
Yeah, we'll do it to Bryce.
I will point
This
out.
went so badly.
I will point out your dark side didn't tell you to murder anyone. Just said doesn't want you to end, and it doesn't want this to end. It wants you to strike back. So yeah, with the big whammy, you roll with weird instead of tough, but it is essentially a kick some ass roll.
Okay. Let's see. I can do math. That's an 8.
Cool. You're gonna do the exchange of harm, which is a little bit rough because you're unstable. However, the big whammy is gonna do a lot of damage. That is 2 harm, close, obvious, ignore armor. You didn't miss, so you don't get the magical backlash. That is good. And okay, what does it look like?
She again starts floating off the ground, and then you can just feel a bunch of energy slam into him from where she is.
Cool. What is the goal of that energy? Is it to do you send him flying back? Do you what do you think?
I want to see if I can get him slammed into a tree so that he loses his focus and drops Jane's sword.
Okay, awesome. So yes, you slam him into a tree. He goes flying back off his feet. You hit him with this invisible wave of force. He takes 2 harm from that, goes flying back into a tree. His concentration is broken, but the sword is not going to drop to the ground. As he goes flying back, the sword also goes flying towards him, but you are in the path.
Oh, fuck.
Oh.
And that sword is going to hit you, Eliza, because you are exchanging harm because of your role. So I think you're going to be fine.
Jane's already going to work on healing me, so I might as
true.
well mess somebody up before.
It's true. It is 2 harm. Swords are 2 harm. Jane's swords specifically are 2 harm. So take 2 more. And I'm gonna say, how much health do you have left?
I have 1 more.
Okay. You're impaled. You're not dead, but there is a sword fully inside of you. With just the hilt protruding. Bryce is gonna drop to the ground. He's unconscious. He's out of it. There's no sign of Claudette. The leprosy guy is laying on the ground. He's conscious, but it sounds like he's having a hard time breathing. Probably because of his, debilitating disease. But your immediate thing is that, Eliza has a sword sticking out of her.
Holy shit. Helen goes forward and is gonna help whatever roll or whatever that Jane might have to do to heal Eliza.
That is an interesting question. There is not really a mechanic for that in Monster of the Week. There is
okay.
There are a few moves that playbooks have that can do something like that. Magic can be used to heal.
Okay.
But that's kind of what you need immediately. When you can, so recovery is interesting in this system because it relies on time passing, and it depends on if you have medical aid or not. So in that context, providing first aid can help heal faster, but it still takes time to heal.
Mhm.
However, if you want to, Jane I could see a justification because Jane has the lore library. Jane is the expert. She knows how magic works. I could see a case where you can use magic per the move.
Okay.
One of the options is healing.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to roll with weird, but you can like call up some esoteric ritual or chant or thing that you've read about before and try to use that to heal Eliza a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I just read the entry again, and one of the options is cure a disease.
Yeah. One of the material components for this spell is just rubbing a little dirt in it.
Yeah, exactly.
I got an 8.
It works perfectly. Choose your effect. You are healing.
Yep.
So you are going to heal 1 harm. Eliza.
Okay.
So you have 2 now, not just 1. The stab wound, I'm going to say closes a good amount. You are not out of the woods. You can pull the sword out, so you're not impaled anymore. The sword is not actively inside you, and your wound has started to heal, but you're still very much unstable. You are going to need like drastic medical attention, or else this is going to get a lot worse.
At that point, Bob, because I know you ladies are a little busy, but I don't think this is looking too good. And Bob is also unstable, and you can see that he has a large piece of shrapnel sticking into his stomach.
Oh. Okay.
One thing that we still have to resolve, because you got an 8 to use magic, you have a glitch, Jane. You get to pick which glitch, and then I tell you what happens. The effect is weakened. The effect is of short duration. You take 1 harm. The magic draws immediate unwelcome attention, or it has a problematic side effect.
I will say the magic draws immediate unwelcome attention.
Oh!
No.
Wow.
You hear a roar that splits the air. Shortly followed by another one that sounds much closer. It is a very disconcerting effect because the first roar sounds like it is coming from the other side of the mountain. And then the second roar sounds like it is coming from much, much closer.
Oh, there are 2 of them.
It's running really, really fast.
What do you do?
Crap, does anyone else know what to do? The expert doesn't.
I'm thinking we could either try running away or we prepare to fight 1 or 2 of these things, you know?
I'm interested to know where Helen's head is at with this, because you've got some conflicting information to go off of here. You've heard that the bear spirit ate your dad, but you've also heard that Eliza saw your dad and he was alive. So
I think that Helen is like, until either, like, you know how in TV shows, like, no one's dead until you see a body, and even then it's a little dubious. So like, I think that that's where like Helen's head is at, is like, until she can confirm whether or not her dad is okay, she's just going to assume that he is okay. And that unless the bear can confirm that it ate its dad somehow, it does one of those cartoony belches, and like something of significance that was on her dad's person like comes out of his mouth, something like that. She's just like, no, I'll believe that he's okay, you know. And so I think that she's just like itching to sort of get to finding him.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you are all standing there and you hear the roar followed by the second roar. You're sort of looking around, panicking. Bryce is laid out. This other guy is laying on the ground. And then you start to hear the crashing thud of extremely heavy steps that almost shake the ground. And I'm going to say that as you were standing there and you were trying to figure out exactly what you want to do next, out of the trees, off to one side, you see an enormous white and blue form explode out of the tree line. It lands heavily on the path behind you on all four of its paws and rises up to its full height. It is roughly the size of a school bus. And it does appear to be an enormous, more primordial looking version of a bear. It is predominantly blue, but it does have white markings and patterns all across its fur. It has a sort of hazy edge to it, as if you were sort of viewing it through smoke or something like that. And it has these very intelligent looking dark eyes that at the moment are wide and look almost, you're not sure if it looks panicked or almost savage, because that's one of those things that's very hard to tell in animals. But it kind of rounds on all of you and rises up to its full height and kind of like stands there staring at you with like these claws, these like probably 10, 11-inch claws. What do you do?
Helen stands very, very still. Like, I don't know if it's just like one of those things that like kids TV shows did, where it's just like they time travel, there's a T-Rex and they're like, if you stand still, it doesn't see you. So like Helen sort of defaults until just being like wide-eyed, holding onto her bat, but like she's just frozen.
You're gonna Jurassic Park it?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Let's see what we got here. I think yeah, I don't think that requires a roll or anything. I think you can absolutely just like do that. It's not making an immediate aggressive action at you. Does anybody else have anything they want to do? Well, it's just sort of standing there, sizing you up.
Yeah, I've got an idea.
Okay.
This no, it'll go well. So I'm going to just for the briefest moments, kind of like just go inside myself, and I'm going to go full rock ground elemental. So I'm just going to kind of let go of my consciousness and let that kind of take over everything. So just the whole transformation into an earth elemental. And then I'm going to kind of slowly just stomp over it, and I'll just kind of stand in front of it, and just it will literally be me kind of bowing to him in kind of acknowledgement that he's protecting the earth, and I'm trying to do a similar kind of thing here.
Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. I think in that particular case, yeah, I'll tell you what, try to roll manipulate. Try to roll charm.
I've got an 8, but I think now is the time, or never, to use that one luck point
Absolutely.
And I'll go for the 12.
Okay. All right. You get a 12 to manipulate, and it is the bear does not take any immediate action to you. When you approach it and you take on this rocky elemental form, the bear like drops to all fours and looks like it snarls at you because it seems like you're challenging it. And as you are waiting, as you are getting closer to it, and then when you reach a certain point, you bow and everything. It seems to start to shrink back. It seems to almost calm down. The madness that you see in its eyes, and its very intelligent looking eyes, seems to settle a little bit. And it does not attack you. But right in the aftermath of that, you see that same sort of well, the first thing all of you see, I will say all four of you see this, you see these lines of red light up all over its body. Almost, it looks like string or thread of some kind, but as soon as it does so, this thing roars again. The spirit roars again, and that same sort of madness appears in its eyes. And the thread, the red thread that is covering its body, you can sort of see a line of it tracing back over your heads up the path. You look back and you see Bryce has regained his feet. He's like leaning against the tree with one arm, trying to steady himself, and the other end of that red thread is like clutched in his hand. And he will take the opportunity to say, he will take the opportunity to say, "Don't anger it anymore. I've almost got it."
Is there any way that I can just punch down against this red thread and just try to smash it to pieces? Just a really big meaty fist, just like drill it, or like really punch into the earth to leave a bigger hole as possible.
I can't tell if Bryce is trying to help or not. I don't think he is.
No,
Yeah,
he's
I don't
no,
think
he's
he
a,
is.
Because the
an
bear
arse.
His name
looks
is
fine.
Bryce.
Yeah, we don't trust him.
Well,
Also, I want to establish chat has established that Bryce is Eliza's ex.
Oh, all right.
Perfect.
I mean, who am I to argue with chat? So it's canon. It depends on your definition about whether Bryce is helping or not, because he has the other end of this thread. He's mentioned controlling it. So on the one hand, whatever he's doing to bring this spirit under his control is clearly angering it. On the other hand, you don't know what it's going to do if it's free either. So something to think about. But you are going to try to break the thread, essentially.
Yeah, I got a sense that this spirit should be free, and I feel a kind of kinship because of the fact that I'm not free, and so this is kind of me trying to free him from this control so that he can, or she can go back and be the spirit of the land. So yeah, it's a proper kind of wind up and just into the ground to destroy the thread.
All right. I'm going to say that's acting under pressure, so you can roll with cool.
I'm really glad I used that 12.
That was a very good 12. That was clutch.
Oh, that's not a good sound.
5.
5 is a fail, but take an advance or take an experience. When you punch down the thread, you do create a big sort of crater in the ground. You do not break it. But I will say, if you want to, you can create an opportunity for yourself, potentially an opportunity for yourself. You kind of like when the dust clears from this hole that you've created, you're holding on to the thread. You've got it in like your rocky hand.
Yeah.
So you can figure that out. Is there anything else anybody else would like to do?
Could
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, you could go first.
All right. Jane will pick up the sword that was previously in Eliza.
Yep.
And also unsheath her other one, not knowing which type is going to damage the string more, or if it even matters. and just double hand slice through the thread.
Okay. As you do that, as you start to slice through the thread, Bryce is going to, you hear Bryce yell because he can see you doing this. He can't really do anything about it because he's focusing so hard on controlling the spell, but he says, no, you idiot. And you can also try to act under pressure, roll with cool.
Ah.
I like how we've chosen that we would rather get eaten by a bear than be on Bryce's side.
Yep.
100%.
And
1000%.
Bryce, you're alive. So
We're all anti-establishment. This is exactly how it should go.
what did you get?
That's a 6, but I am also going to use my luck to turn that into a 12.
There it is. Yeah, hell yeah.
Perfect.
Extremely clutch. Yeah. So you bring your swords down. Let's say, yeah, the cold iron one hits the thread and it just bends it a little bit, but it does not cut through. But your silver one passes right through it. The light that the line of thread that is tracing back to Bryce's hand disappears. It disintegrates into motes of light that float off into the air. But the threads themselves remain. The remaining thread that is currently extending out of Bob's hand, Bob's closed fist, remains in place on the creature, on the spirit.
But it is separate from Bryce now, right?
Yes, it is separate from Bryce.
Okay.
If you had to interpret this, you would guess that the control of the spell has transferred to Bob.
Go Bob!
Go Bob!
I would like to take this opportunity because what could go wrong? And use my what could go wrong feature potentially to charge at Bryce and kick some ass again.
Okay. Yeah, you can absolutely try to do that. Yes. Where's your character sheet? Cool. So that is kick some ass. So roll with tough.
Mm-hmm. That's 10.
Cool. Yeah, you were definitely charging into immediate danger. You get to hold 2. And actually, reading this, you don't have to roll to kick some ass. You just get to do one of these things because you were charging into immediate danger.
Oh.
So you can pick to, you have 2 holds. You can inflict 1 harm, reduce someone's harm suffered by 1, or take +2 forward on an act under pressure roll, depending on what you are planning to do next. You can also pick those multiple times. So if you just want to hurt Bryce, you can just inflict 2 harm automatically without having to roll.
Okay. I will inflict harm on Bryce. So you just see Helen sprint forward. She probably had already started charging like before things had like fully resolved, sort of on the team let's get the string cut end.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the momentum before she can really stop herself, she's fully like swinging her bat again at the other end. Actually, no, at the same place where she hit his ribs before. Because fuck this guy. And she will hit him again. So
Awesome.
Would that be 2 harm plus the baseball bat? Or just 2 harm?
Yeah, it would essentially just be doing the baseball bat damage, but you get to do it for free. You don't have to roll for it.
All right.
So yes, you deal 2 harm to Bryce. He is unconscious again. He drops. He is having the worst day. He's had 2 concussions. And hopefully he'll learn something from this about being a better person.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll give him amnesia and he won't remember who he was, and he'll learn how to be a real human. But he's unconscious, and if anybody wants to do anything now at this point, you are welcome to. Otherwise, Bob, you have the spell in your hand, and you can figure out what you want to do with that. Eliza, is there anything you want to do? I mean, you're very stabbed. but you're not as stabbed as you used to be.
Not as stabbed as I used to be. So many of my things are like messing people's days up.
I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do with use magic, or you can try to help one of the others. I mean, you can see that Bob, you can see that control of this spell has transferred to Bob, and you know that Bob doesn't really do magic. So you could try to help him with that if you want to. You could roll to help out.
Can I talk to the bear? Can I use magic to speak with the bear?
Yeah, actually, you absolutely can. One of the options is to communicate with something you wouldn't normally. Yeah, communicate with something that you do not share a language with. So roll with weird.
That is a 10.
Magic works without issues. You have no ill effects. You can speak to the bear. You can communicate to it. The first thing that happens when you link with this through magic is you get this wave of pain and like frustration and anger.
Hi, bear. I'm sorry. It seems like you're having a bad day. I just have a couple of questions if you don't mind.
Yeah, Eliza's half of the conversation is definitely out loud, right? You are not sure what the normal communication levels of this spirit are, whether it is having a hard time communicating because it is in so much pain, or whether this is how it sounds all the time. But all it really says in response to that is, like in a very deep and inhuman voice, it says, "It hurts."
Can somebody please go heal the bear?
Jane will try.
Things are a little like still a little chaotic. The bear will keep talking and it will say, "Free me."
Okay. Hey, I can get him to free you, but you have to promise you're not gonna hurt us, and you'll tell me if you ate my friend's dad.
The only response it gives is protect.
Okay. We get that. We don't want to hurt anything. We really don't. We don't want to hurt you or the land. Okay? Do you trust me? Do you trust me?
You don't get the impression. No, actually, I think it will say humans hurt.
That's valid, actually. I can't fault that. Okay.
And that's the lesson we want you to take away, folks. Humans can hurt.
That's fair. Okay.
Maybe the monsters of the week were ourselves.
Wow.
Okay, that's fair.
No, we're
Okay.
done.
Okay.
There have been 3 conclusions in this.
Okay.
Big
Fair
takeaways.
enough. Fair enough. Bob, can you let go of the thread?
See, Bob's not sure if letting go will.
Let go of the thread, Bob.
Okay, so Bob's got an idea.
Okay.
What I don't really understand magic, but he's thinking, is there any way he can transfer the spell to himself and kind of do the heroic thing and kind of like, if he removes it off the bear and transfers it onto himself, he probably won't survive, but it'll be the victory of, a tormented creature being free, and he's happy to, he'll have died for something important. So that's what he's going to do. Find a way to take the spell into himself and take the pain.
All right. I think that's really good. You don't do magic, but currently you are in possession of magic. You currently have it because Bryce's spell is currently transferred to you, and you're just not sure what to do with it. But you can absolutely attempt this if you want. I'm still going to say it falls under use magic, though, and you are going to roll with weird.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for a total of 8.
Awesome. All right, cool. With an 8, yeah, you can do it. It works imperfectly. You choose a glitch. There are a lot of different options for use magic we could pick from this, but I think we could say, you are trapping a specific person, minion, or monster, and that is you. You are transferring the spell effect to you.
Yeah.
But you get to choose the glitch, and then I tell you what happens. It's weakened, of short duration. You take harm, immediate unwelcome attention, or it has a problematic side effect.
So I think because this spell generates harm, it probably makes sense that actually taking it into me is going to cause me harm as well. But Bob's prepared for that, and so I will take harm from it.
Okay, you take 1 harm. That doesn't knock you out or anything, right?
Yeah, that means that's my final point.
That's your final point?
Yep.
Oh
So
goodness. All right. Interesting.
No!
All right. These lines, these red threads that are currently wrapped around the bear retract, and you see them sort of lash themselves around Bob's form. And I think immediately, as soon as they do, Bob also starts screaming, sort of in the same way that the bear has been roaring this entire time. And I think it lasts a brief second. And then the red light almost seems to disappear into Bob, and he drops to the ground, not moving. The bear, almost immediately, when the threads retract from the bear drops to all fours. It stops roaring, it stops thrashing. That sort of mad light fades from its eyes. It looks very human again, and it it seems exhausted. It seems drained and like it is barely keeping its feet. What do you do?
Okay. I'll keep speaking to the bear if somebody else goes and heals Bob.
I will go and try and heal Bob.
You get to Bob, and you don't find a pulse. You don't find any sign of vitals.
I start CPR.
You start doing CPR, trying to revive him, but it seems like there's just nothing to bring back. The bear starts to move towards you. Not in a threatening way this time. It's taking very sort of slow, plodding steps. Like I said, it seems like it's very drained. It seems like it's very tired, but it reaches Bob, and through this connection that you have with it, Eliza, you hear it say, "Help." And it stands up, it rises up to its full height. This marking that looks almost like an arrowhead, this white marking on its chest that looks almost like an arrowhead, starts to glow. And it drops back to all fours and then rises back up. As it does so, Helen, you see your dad lying there on the ground. And
yeah, she rushes forward to him.
Almost gently, the bear scoops Bob's form up in one hand, one clawed paw, and then raises him to that same arrowhead marking and kind of like holds him there like a mother would an infant. And Bob disappears.
Into the bear?
It's hard to say.
Helen, seeing this and remembering how Bryce colorfully interpreted this as the bear ate your dad, just mutters under her breath, Bryce is a fucking idiot.
Your dad's eyes like flutter open as you rush to him, and he looks up at you kind of disbelievingly. He looks around like he can't it's not sure where he is. He looks very disoriented. As you all take stock of things now, you realize that you don't see any of the Wickworth students. You don't see Bryce or the guy with leprosy or Claudette, who's been gone for a while. But it seems like it's just you and the bear on the path. The bear spirit looks directly at you, Eliza, and again through that connection, it says much more affirmingly this time, much more decisively. It says, "Help." And then it turns and trundles off into the woods.
Is that bear for it's getting help or that we
Hard to communicate with bear spirits, as it turns out. If only you had a master's in communication.
They definitely covered this in graduate school.
Yeah.
It's a specific course for speaking with bear spirits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your dad like looks up at you and says, like, "Helen, I had the strangest dream."
Yeah. And she's like choking back like tears and stuff at the fact that her father is okay. And she's just like, yeah, strange dreams happen, but you're okay.
He tells you about it. He tells you that they were he and this group of hikers that he was guiding up the mountain were on the path, and they stumbled into this like clearing where there were people that, you know, dressed strangely. They didn't look like they belonged there, and they were doing something strange, some kind of ritual or something. And there was this giant bear, he says. And then they ran for it, obviously. But then they were chased by a mountain lion, and he told the people, the hikers, to go one way, and he went the other to try to lead the mountain lion away. But he, you know, in the process, basically ran right into this bear, and he was sure that it was going to kill him. He was sure he was going to die. And then that was pretty much all he remembered. But he was like, I think it saved me.
Yeah. Those people are gone now. They were bothering the bear. But they were bothering the bear. And
he laughs a little bit, and he like pats you on your arm, and he says, "Sweetie, it's not real.
No, yeah.
It's just a dream."
No, you're so right. Yeah, I
must have fallen and hit my head.
Mm-hmm. That must have been it. But we should get you to a hospital to see if you hit your head really hard, considering how crazy that dream is.
You take him down the mountain, you get him medical help, you take him to a hospital. He seems fine. He seems completely unharmed. They say he doesn't have a concussion. You also take Eliza to the hospital. She is in much greater need of help. But everybody's fine. Everybody recovers. You spend a little time in the hospital, Eliza. You start to feel better. Your dad is discharged pretty much the next day. About a week after that, Jane, I'm going to say that you make a trip out to Bob's shack just to sort of, you know, see if there are anything, if there's anything you need to take care of, any of his belongings that are still left there that you want to help. And
one chair.
One chair. He loved that chair more than anything. You take the trip out there, and it's a little bit somber. And as you are like going through all of this stuff, as you leave and are getting back in your car to drive back to Ursa, you see the spirit, the bear spirit, come out of the woods and step towards you. It walks basically right up to you, right in front of you, and it stands back up to its full height, and it puts its hand to its chest again. When it comes away, it's like sort of gently cradling Bob, and it lowers him gently to the ground in front of you, and his eyes open. Bob, for the first time in your in the life that you can remember, it is quiet inside your head, and you don't feel these conflicting elemental forces battling inside you any longer. And the best any of you can figure out in the aftermath of this, Jane, as you do research into it, the binding spell that Bryce had used on the bear when Bob absorbed it, it bound the elementals inside of him.
Nice.
And I think that is the end of our one shot. Fuck the magic school.
That's so cool.
I think we can all agree. Fuck the magic school.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
Also, fuck Bryce in particular.
Fuck
That man
Bryce
can
in particular.
rot.
Hate that guy.
Absolutely.
It was satisfying to beat the crap out of him.
I can't believe he never took his friends to the nurse.
I mean, he may have. We'll never know. But maybe he
didn't.
just let his friend die of leprosy. Who knows? That would be awful. But I mean, it's Bryce after all. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we are bumping up right against our time slot. So I think we should we'll do our outros, and then we'll say goodbye to everybody, and then we'll leave it open for the panel that is coming up next. Definitely check that out. So I will go first. Once again, my name is Will. I'm one of the GMs and the organizers for Live from the Apocalypse. We are a multi-platform TTRPG studio that platforms progressive causes and good organizations. Everything we do benefits nonprofits and aid organizations. We have a very good podcast. We do like four or five ongoing campaigns at the moment that we stream here on Twitch. So check that out. You can follow us at twitch.tv/live from the apocalypse. You can follow us on Twitter at live from the APOC, because our name is too long for Twitter. That is something I wish I had known when I picked it. And I think that's most of it. lfta.carrd.co has pretty much all of our stuff. And I'll just do a quick plug. Stick around for the mental and physical health in TTRPG spaces panel that is coming up next. One of the other GMs and organizers of ours, Della, who is a social worker, is on that panel. It's going to be a very good time. And then a couple of our cast members are also in Pokemon Tales, which is coming up right after that. Also, Marshall, who made that game, is one of our cast members. So stick around for that. It's going to be great. And that is me.
Cool. Yeah, I'll go next. Hi, I'm Tal, and you can catch me on Twitter under the Gamers Rest. Also got a Ko-fi, which is worth checking out, with some monthly subscriptions for some cool D&D adventures, items, and lore. And that's me.
That would be Nox next.
Hi everyone, I'm Nox. You can find me over at Twitter at Noxternal_7. Screw Bryce, and you can catch me on Tuesdays. You can catch me on Tuesdays over at the Girls Run These Worlds Twitch at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I'll be playing Celine in Harsh Realms, which is the using kids on bikes, and is 1990s Stranger Things inspired set in Washington State.
That next would be Sarah without an H. Also, not me just realizing that I said we'll go in alphabetical order and making Tal go first because I was thinking of Bob. So
You also did that at the beginning.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I realized it this time.
When you said it, I was like, oh, that'll make sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
It doesn't make sense. But Sarah, go ahead.
I am Sarah. I play Jane. You can find me on Twitter at Sarah of Swords. I am the programming director for Play Cancer Away, and we are a group that does fundraising for various cancer-related charities. And we are currently gearing up for our big month-long October fundraiser for Stand Up to Cancer. And you can catch the player form for that coming out in a couple of weeks. We're still getting our GMs hammered out. But that will be coming out soon. And you can follow us on Twitter at Play Cancer Away. And that's my spiel.
Sarah, if you want to take us out.
Yeah, I was Helen. My name is Sarah. You can find me at Serotonin on Twitter. You can also find me most every Friday at 8 Eastern on twitch.tv/dauntless, spelled DAUNTLYS. And there we do a swashbuckling adventure of a homebrew 5e pirate themed campaign. And yeah, I'm also on a couple of other projects that are soon to be announced. So if you want to know more about that, you can follow me on my Twitter.
Awesome. And from all of us here at Fuck the Magic School, thank you again so much for tuning in and donating and all of that good stuff. And we will see you in the future on our respective things. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
That was absolutely amazing. I hope everyone enjoyed that as much as I did, because that was great. Also, I'll take just half a second to say fuck Bryce, because come on, how can you not? Thank you so much to all of my this amazing cast. Thank you, Will, Tal, both Sarahs and Knox, for this incredible time. This was great. Thank you all so much. Thank you to everyone who donated. Thank you for the support. Thank you to everyone in chat who's hanging out, talking, sharing links, just being a part of this in any and every way. And very exciting, since we did hit that 500 mark and are continuing to grow, I still can't believe we hit that here on day 2, and we're not even like halfway through the day. But since we did hit that, I'm going to be adding a copy of Journeys Through the Radiant Citadels, the new Dungeons and Dragons 5e book that's just come out, I think, on the 19th. I know there were some delays beforehand. Pretty sure it's out now, but we're going to be adding that to the giveaways. So that's going to be another really exciting, cool thing that you can win. We'll be updating the charity goal in a little bit. See if we can hit that again. If we do, there'll be more awesome stuff. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back soon with the, let me find the exact name for you. The Roll TTRPGs Play in Our Mental Health panel. It's going to be a phenomenal experience. Please don't miss it. Hang tight. We'll see you soon.